Happy New Year, Facebook.
Live in 150 million homes.
Worldwide. Hello, everybody. Are we on YouTube yet?
Yeah, we are now. Yeah.
We're on YouTube. You might not be able to see us all because we're all a bit huddled in. It's a pre-season friendly here. We're all in. We've brought the full squad in, so there might be a bit of rotation needed. And the Super League reduces the number of changes. We're increasing ours. So
more the merrier.
Yeah, Scully might just need to sit on John's knee a little bit. I hope you've had a great Christmas. Happy New Year to one and all. I think it's been fair to say it's been eventful since we spoke last. Our offer to sponsor the Challenge Cup is still there. You know, I might have saved the Catalans 20 quid or something if they'd have not wanted to pay their bond. Richard's here, you might know, but I think you can see him actually. He's just on the end there. Phil Kaplan is here, the legend is here, and John Davidson is here as well. Only because
John Davidson was the legend.
Scotty requested that you were here because he wanted to abuse you because the Aussies got beat by the English 2-0 in the Academy Series. Lads, there's been a lot of talk on social media. I had a bit of an outburst over the weekend about, you know, positive rugby league, etc. And that wasn't aimed at anyone in particular. I want to say that before we start. We only ever say anything bad about the RFL when there's something bad to say about the RFL. And there is a lot of bad things to say. What the hell is happening to the RFL? The Challenge Cup now, Scoey. I reckon if you want to put in 100 grand, you'll be in the final. You yourself, the Belle Isle, whatever they're called, will be in the final. What the hell is going on? The greatest competition in the world, and it's a load of rubbish basically now because it's you've got to pay to get in it.
Well, it's an absolute disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace, and I've been thinking about this over, if I'm honest with you, for the last 36, 40 hours, the way the Challenge Cup has been treated. You know, and if we look at the way Super League now, you know, they're just literally doing what they want to do. They couldn't care less, to be honest with you, regarding what the Challenge Cup is all about. But yeah, we're talking about the RFL, aren't we? And what they have done to the Catalans, first of all with Toronto and Toulouse, was disgraceful. But then also to the holders, the Catalans Dragons, you know, it's just absolutely laughable, disgraceful. And also, when we look at the promotion, when we look at marketing, the greatest cup competition in the world, where is it? Where is it? We haven't got a sponsor as yet. So what the RFL should be deciding is quite simple. What marquee product have we got? And the marquee product is simple, the Challenge Cup. So now there should be somebody at the Challenge Cup going out there and telling every Tom, Dick and Harry, from spectators, from sponsors to clubs, the history of this great competition. Because when you look at the competition, you look at the history of this competition, from the players who have played in it, Englishmen, New Zealand, Australian, French, Papua New Guinea, wherever. The history of this wonderful competition, which is the biggest cup competition and the best cup competition in the world. You look at the names that have made themselves with the Challenge Cup. I'll just give one here now. John Keir. What is John Keir remembered for as a coach? How has John Keir established himself as a coach because of the Challenge Cup? What quality people have won the Landstock Trophy? What surprises have the Challenge Cup brought in? You look at Alan Agar at Featherstone with what he did from there. And forgetting what the Super League has done. The Super League's only been going for 23 years, right? But the Challenge Cup from the RFL, with what they are doing to it at this moment in time, is absolutely disgraceful. And I'll tell you what, Mark, for me, heads should roll.
Right, okay. Have Catalans just been very, very clever here?
The missing trophy.
Yeah. Have they just been very clever in the fact that they've seen the uproar about Toronto and Toronto saying, we're not paying to enter, we shouldn't have to pay to enter. And that raises another issue in the due diligence that was done when Toronto were allowed in to the Rugby League. Was any done? I don't think it was. And again, that asks questions about the leadership that has been and gone. They've been very clever for me, the Dragons, because they probably would have said, all right, we'll pay it. Well, then Toronto have gone, no chance. And then Mr. Gouache has gone, hang on, why the hell we've got the trophy here? They've got to let us in. And he's gone, we're not paying it. And he's called their bluff. And the RFL have been made an absolute laughingstock, Phil. There's another word about this now.
I don't even know where you start with this, because there is a reason why the RFL are asking for a bond. Irrespective of who they're asking it from, the first thing it tells us is there is no money within Red Hall and the governing body.
Is it fair to say, Phil, that their little slush fund that they had, right, and you know, this is true. We all know it's true. They had access to money as part of the TV deal that they have basically used to cover up various, I'll use the word cock-ups, in the past. That is what they've done. Now Super League have got control of all the money. They haven't got access to that money, and all of a sudden now they're making rash decisions after rash decisions.
There has to be a logic why they decided that was what they wanted to do. Now, the only logic I can think of is the coffers are running dry. But how it got out of the building, that was a way you solve that problem, is the bit that I can't fathom. That when you sit down as a board of directors or a senior management and you say, right, there are certain issues with the Challenge Cup, I can't see us making any money on it for the foreseeable future. We don't know when the next England internationals are going to be at home. Not sure where our income is going to come from. We need some quick. For somebody then to say, let's penalise overseas teams, that would be a good idea. And Catalan have won the Challenge Cup. How that then becomes, that's going to be what we want out there in the public domain, is the bit I don't understand. It's one of the most crass decisions I think a sport has ever made. For some strange reason, they seem to think that there is less magic in the Cup if the most exotic teams can't play in it. That the whole ethos of a Challenge Cup is that it's open to everybody.
Well, what was the beauty of it not last year? John, I'll come to you. And people were all crowd rubbish, no one there. I thought that was the best atmosphere at a Cup final. I mean, I might have been lucky because I was sat with the Dragons fans. I really enjoyed it. Wasn't that what the Cup's all about, that any team can win it?
Definitely, and they made history. I mean, I think there was, 50-odd thousand. If they can't make money from 50-odd thousand turning up to an event, to a game, then that also raises huge alarm bells for me. I mean, what is this stadium deal that they have with Wembley?
Let's talk about attendances on two fronts. On the one hand, the principle behind asking teams to pay a bond that may not bring many fans, you can't levy that at just two teams. Where does that begin and end? That's the first thing. What is the actual principle behind that? The second thing is, we all know from when New Wembley opened in 2007, when, funnily enough, Catalans Dragons were one of the teams there, and nobody said it was a poor attendance. The issue has been that Club Wembley was counted in the attendance because it was paid for in advance by people who bought debenture tickets, so they were entitled to go to that event. If they chose not to...
Yeah, that's their choice.
Right.
Yeah.
But 2 years ago, we decided to not include the Club Wembley, and the RFL got the chance to sell those tickets. But if you take around 10,000 fans off every attendance from 2007, it's not a lot different. The issue with the Challenge Cup is not about the teams that play in it. It's about we moved it to the very worst day of the year to stage it. And immediately it became August bank holiday. It affected the crowd, whoever was playing. Very few kids can go. Gary will tell you, Leeds and Hunslet schools used to take 1,000, 1,500 kids to every Wembley because it was the end of May. It was in term time. It was part of the curriculum. Now, the bank holiday weekend at the end of August is the most inconvenient weekend for everybody. But you're not going to get any kids there. So once you make a decision like that, it has ramifications that 10 years down the line we're suddenly going, oh, we should be surprised that nobody's turning up at the Challenge. The issue is with the Challenge Cup, not the teams that play in it.
Interesting. Someone's asked on... you get in touch on Facebook, YouTube. I think there's been a couple of glitches. People asking if the RFL have hacked us. They may well have done. People wanting to know, John, are you paying a bond to be on this show?
I've refused to pay it, so I think Scully's going to probably kick me out halfway through the show.
Well, that's
you can get to the semis, but you're not allowed to.
It's an Aussie. It's like trying to get a drink out of him. No.
Oh, hey,
Still owe me from the pint from the golf.
I have. Yeah, can we just?
You owe me what?
You owe me a pint.
Oh, dude.
Can we just put on record that John Davidson did buy a round of drinks when we saw him? You less so. Yeah, when we went out with him, he did.
I wasn't there, so you buy me. I wasn't there.
I want you to withdraw that allegation.
I'm not withdrawing it. Not a chance.
Oh, well. So it's been an absolute disaster, Phil, hasn't it? It has been. What is the way out? Do they have to backtrack and back down? Or are we going to find out in the next week or so that to keep their coffers loaded, they've sold Red All on the quiet, or they've sold Odds on the quiet? Is that the next step?
This can only be resolved by allowing the holders to be in the competition. I don't know of any cup competition in any sport ever where the holders haven't had the chance to retain the trophy if they want to. So I don't know where the RFL go with the decision, but they have to backtrack on that. I mean, the thing that I think is the most annoying at the moment is we're 3 weeks away from a new season. One of the highlights of the new season, which we all want to focus on, is the fact that there's going to be a game in Barcelona in mid-May that could break the crowd record for a Super League game. And that game is only there because of what Catalans Dragons did in winning the Challenge Cup. So we're at the start of a season where that's what we want to promote. We want to be talking about all of the team's prospects with the great new players that are coming into the competition. I don't think any of us would deny that the standard of recruitment has been higher this year than it's been in previous years. What is the only story that is dominating outside of Rugby League territory? It's the Catalans Dragons story. We've shot ourselves in the foot yet again. Nobody from national media wants to preview the competition. They all want to ring up and ask about what's happening with the Challenge Cup. If ever that is PR suicide, I don't know what is. And it comes again partly because we've got two governing,
you talk
two
about
different
PR.
bodies.
You talk about PR. The only thing I've heard from the RFL recently is that they've signed a new deal for the balls. Great, brilliant, well done.
They have deducted
although I understand that deal was messed up as well.
A new deal for what?
They're using the Steedham ball now.
So no one can complain that the Rhino balls are slipping.
Oh, I didn't know you were here.
Good evening. All the players who, as we know, have spoken, and we'll talk about that later. The players who all moaned about the Rhino balls last year have all got their wish now. So next time they knock on, it's their fault. Looking at you.
Oh wow!
See the Christmas spirit in that.
Wow! So there's a new ball.
Yeah, it's got a new ball, but I've not heard any. I'm not hearing anything.
West Wales Raiders have had 4 points deducted, but we only knew that. We only knew that on social media.
So are they going to finish the season on -4?
When did that happen?
Did you not know?
No.
But
also
rules.
Just going back to
eligibility.
just going back to the Catalans fellas. You know, realistically, they're being penalised for being successful, and it's absolutely disgraceful.
Well, essentially, they're being penalised for being foreign.
It's disgraceful, you know, and also as well, what would the challenge? What would they make out of the Challenge Cup nowadays, Phil? Back in my day, the club got there. Well, had about 250, 300 grand. So where did they come up with a £500,000 bomb from?
They've lost over £500,000. Some will say they've lost up to £750,000.
Go the RFL.
Yeah,
well, that's their fault. It's not Catalan's fault.
No,
but hold on. Right, okay. Out of all that money that they lost, how much of it was because Ralph gave tickets away on Groupon the week before when he had basically, was it 13 weeks between the quarter final and the actual final to go? Tell you what, fellas. They might get in. And I asked the question here, John. This is an interesting one. I got hammered for it because I put Huddersfield in, saying what happens if the semi-final draw? It's Catalan, Huddersfield, Salford, and say
Dewsbury.
Yeah. And then it was, what do you pick Huddersfield for? They've got good. Right. Well, I'm not picking on Huddersfield. I'm mentioning them because they don't travel particularly well. People say, they had a great crowd in the. Yeah, I'm not bothered. I'm just naming them. The RFL are going to go. Well, if Catalan get there, we get £500,000. If Batley get there, we don't get anything. It's the integrity of the competition is questioned,
gone before the ball's even kicked.
Yeah.
Well, I think what's also going for me is that the RFL essentially saying we won't market the final. It's up to the finalists to market it. It's your job. I mean, how bad is that? They've got a whole year.
It's your job, but you'll only have 3 weeks because you won't know if you're in the final until 3.
They've got the whole season to sell the final, and the final is not just for the fans of the two clubs who are in the final. It's for all Rugby League fans.
But that's what the Challenge Cup has always been. So when the Challenge Cup this year finished, what was it, August the 25th or the 26th, the day after, they should have been promoting the Challenge Cup for the following 12 months.
But you're on a downward spiral because as soon as you start offering tickets for next to nothing between the semi-final and the final, why is anybody going to buy a ticket a year out in advance? They might as well just wait and get it for nothing.
Because again,
so the losses will then accrue.
Because of the plan B we're supposed to didn't have. Oh, we need a plan B because the Catalans Dragons have got there. We didn't expect it. Do you know what? Well,
couldn't they find St Helens for not turning up in that semi-final then? Because essentially, it would have been a sellout. Just have 4 teams in the cup every year.
But it isn't a sellout. Wigan Hull was nowhere near a sellout. Warrington Leeds was nowhere near a sellout. The issue was with the tournament, not the teams.
Do you know what, fellas? Right? Do you know now? You know, let's say for instance, we contacted the RFL tomorrow and say, listen, the Challenge Cup now is it when is it? July? Is it the Challenge Cup? Oh no, it's August again this year. It's July next year. So if we phoned the RFL tomorrow and said, listen, the Challenge Cup this year, August the 25th, how many tickets have you sold? Could they tell us?
Yeah, they could.
Are they on sale?
No, they are. No, they are. In fairness, I've had an email. My point, and we've mentioned this before, right, is about the whole Challenge Cup thing. The question now is, are they admitting they can't sell out Wembley? Do they need to move the Challenge Cup?
Do you know what, Mark?
Yeah, but that's what a businessman is. What you say.
Well, hold on, Phil. But I knew you was going to bring that up, Mark. Do you know what? If they move the Challenge Cup from Wembley, they might as well scrap it because it's losing all the history.
Well, we are as we read in the paper today. We are becoming like the NRL anyway, so we might just get rid of it. That might be the next step.
Well, for me, if they move it from Wembley, they might as well scrap it because it takes everything away.
I agree, and I'm asking the question, but as a businessman, if you're losing money hand over fist, you stop trying to lose money, you say, right, we can't.
So if the argument is you should debate and discuss moving away from Wembley, why have they just signed a 10-year deal with Wembley?
I don't know. I'm only asking the question.
No, I'm just saying it's a valid question to ask, but it isn't because they're committed to Wembley for the next 10 years. But you would say that if one of the ways we can make money is to throw it open like Magic Weekend and have cities bid for it...
I want to speak about that later on because I'm not convinced that's all above board either.
Or if you're talking about the World Cup where cities have been invited to bid to host games and you're going to go down that route with the Challenge Cup, which is one of the properties you've got that has history attached to it, and... Professor Tony Collins today put out a podcast saying maybe it is time to offer it to the highest bidder. Then you wouldn't sign a 10-year deal with Wembley, would you?
We have to ask hard questions, don't we? Because nobody else will. The marketing department of the Rugby Football League, though, what are they spending their money on? I know there's a lot of money, well, I don't know, I wouldn't say a lot of money, I don't know how much they spend on advertising in, say, the trade press or whatever. But that's just preaching to the converted who already know that the Challenge Cup final exists or whatever, and advertising on the TV station which no one watches because we can back up the figures on that. So I'm sure the R League app got lots of exposure through sponsoring a programme in which it had its sponsorship message spelt wrong for half the season. What are they spending their money on? Where's the marketing? Where are the ideas? Even free ideas. I came up with a couple of ideas yesterday on Twitter. They're not fully formed, completely great ideas. But basically it was using the fact that, A, this is the one product which is on the BBC, so they're the host broadcaster, whatever. Use them and their resources to promote the competition. We see, in a couple of weeks' time, when we've got our season launch, which is brilliantly timed for the first weekend of the Six Nations, the Six Nations will be everywhere on the BBC. I'm not comparing the two. They are completely different things, but there will be a Question of Sport special. They'll be all over a BBC breakfast. What are we doing with our product? Why are we saying to Radio 6 Music, why don't you have a competition and a band will play at Wembley in the pre-match, because no one cares who's in the pre-match entertainment at Wembley, and that gives interest to different people who are not Rugby League people, but it's just an idea. Where's the people in the marketing department of the RFL to come up with ideas that don't cost anything, to get involved with the broadcast partners we've already got, to actually get some interest in it without looking at the same people. People are saying, why aren't you selling tickets to the Challenge Cup final? Why are Salford not taking 10,000 people to the Challenge Cup final or whatever? We're selling to the same people time and time again. We've got to sell to new people. Otherwise, we will become an irrelevance, if we're not already.
But also as well, just going back to that, Richie, right? The Challenge Cup was for everybody in Rugby League. It was for everybody, and now it's lost that impetus. For whatever reason, but everybody went to watch the Challenge Cup. It didn't matter who got there, but why has it lost it?
It's lost it in the early stages. In the early stage of the Challenge Cup, any team that wants to play should be allowed to play. So if you've set up a little team in, Penzance, even if you haven't necessarily won anything ever, you should be able to enter the Challenge Cup. That's the whole idea of the Challenge Cup.
Without a bond.
I agree.
Well, if you're on Penzance, maybe. Right, but now we're picking even the community clubs that we want in the early stages.
Right, let's just say this then, right? Let's just say this season, right? Newcastle, who were spending a couple of quid, right? Let's just say Newcastle this year. Billy Slater, they signed him from Australia. Let's just say they signed Cameron Smith from Australia. Let's just say they signed Jonathan Thurston, who's just retired from Australia.
When I said these sweets were LSD,
can he have three marquee signings in League One?
Hold on. So, why can't the three marquee sign? Because we'll be for sure they'll take all the money. But the point I'm making here, if Newcastle had signed them three players, would the RFL have gone, oh no, they're in the Challenge Cup, Newcastle. We might have to ask them for a bond because we've signed these three players that could get them there. It's absolutely pathetic. It is.
It is, but the question is, they've got to. Well, I think they've got to backtrack and say, look, we've made a monumental cock up here.
That's the only way. That's the only way they're going to say first.
Everyone's Toronto. We apologise. We want you to come in.
Toronto will come in as well if the ball's dropped.
Yeah, exactly. So then you're opening up to everyone.
That's the only solution to it.
Well, there is
so
another
the problem
solution.
then goes back on the RFL.
Catalan hold the Challenge Cup to ransom for £500,000. The RFL pay the £500,000. Catalan give it back to them as a bond to be in the Challenge Cup.
There is a precedent for that in the world of professional wrestling, where Ric Flair was the NWA World Heavyweight Champion in 1991, and he had to pay a $10,000 deposit to hold the belt. They got rid of him from WCW, went to WWF with the belt because they didn't pay him the deposit back. So the Catalans could do that. There is a precedent for that to happen.
Hold the cup to ransom.
I'm looking forward to this.
So what is the answer then? What is the answer? Because the worry I've got, right, and this is all linked in to what's happened in the last couple of weeks, is quite clearly the RFL are now behind the 8 ball. Now, whatever we were led to believe when Robert Elson was appointed by Ian Lenigan et al., my understanding, his remit was basically to get rid of the RFL. That's what he's saying. We don't want the RFL having anything to do with the sport. We're going to run it our way. Now, the RFL is imploding now. They've, like you said, there's no money. They've got Brian Barwick. And I noticed even Andrew Chalmers of the Bradford Bulls has come out and had a pop at Brian Barwick this
I think
week.
it's nice that Brian made a statement on this Catalan debacle as chairman of the organisation.
Well, there you go. So, but my point is, we're arguing about funding in the lower leagues. Brian Barwick gets more funding than Workington Town or whoever else, Batley or whoever else it is. Yeah. So, how can that be justified? Who's paying their wages? How long have the RFL got before they go bust? That is a genuine question. What money? They lost £2 million last year. Where that money went? I mean, has anyone actually come out and said, "Oh yeah, we spent $250,000 on this. We spent 300 on that"?
Well, they'll have to issue accounts at some stage with detail of some of that. But the issue for me is one of accountability, which it's been for as long as we can all remember. Transparency as well. Somebody has allowed this to get out of the building. Now, whoever that is, you can understand that around a closed boardroom table, let's say. This wouldn't have happened if there hadn't been a reason for it to happen. Somebody didn't wake up one day, I'll tell you what, we'll charge a fee. The reason that's happening is because perhaps a bank is saying, we need you to come up with some income.
We don't know that.
No,
but clearly there's a demand. We
reason,
need to get some money.
Right.
We need to get some money.
So somebody has come up with an idea to get some money. But it's the worst idea ever. Who has allowed that idea to become public knowledge and for teams to be written to, and it then becomes a matter of record? The person or people who have decided that should step away from the organisation.
And our colleague Rod says, John, I don't know if you agree with it, but he said the RFL should have a bit of a think tank whereby they run ideas past people that know
Past
about...
Rod.
Well, but with the best one in the world, if they'd have said to us, we're going to ask the Catalan Dragons to put 500 grand in, we'd have gone, I probably would. Even Scully would have said,
Market research.
Probably not a great idea.
So even if you have a bit of a, a sounding board, an independent one, and you go, I probably wouldn't do that, fellas, if I were you. What do you reckon?
On no level does this pass any degree of scrutiny.
But again, you mentioned the word accountability. This is 100 of a list of mess-ups.
And this is another thing that I think is wrong. The statement that came out from the RFL in response to the Dragons, which said, A, we're surprised, really? B, we're disappointed, double really? Was from a spokesperson who is leading the game at the moment.
What did he say, Brian Barwick? What statement did he make?
Nothing.
The
tongue was slightly in the cheek.
You lost with him, fella. Oh, sure. Whoa.
No.
All right, sorry. I thought he made it sound thinking, has he really? And I was thinking, what's he said?
And I think another,
and that's my point.
Another damning indictment of what's going on at the RFL is that people within the RFL are starting to talk out of school now, aren't they? Because they're not happy. We know, we've had conversations with people that are not happy with how it's been run. As simple as that. And that, surely, John, is the beginning of the end, isn't it? I put out on Twitter that I think that the RFL have missed the boat. They've overplayed their importance to the game by thinking they were bigger than Super League, or they could cope without Super League, when clearly they can't. And the Super League clubs will argue, we bring the money in, we should have a bigger say. And I get that to a certain degree, but The RFL have been left behind. They're an insignificance now, aren't they?
Well,
they're basically, if you've got a really good administrator in at the RFL who could sort the fixtures out, make sure everyone gets paid on time, and sort the referees out, would there actually be pretty much any need for it?
Well, I wrote an editorial, I think it was about 3 years ago, that the sport was at a crossroads and criticising the administration. And you just look at what has happened since. I mean, essentially the Super League clubs have forced Nigel Wood out and taken control. And is that a good thing? A lot of people say it isn't. But I think we need a change to happen. And this is just, at the moment, these things are just bringing things to a head.
But
Because
should the RFL have said, right, yeah, we get where you're going, but we need to work together, but you get the final say, if you like?
I think they probably should have said that, but I think the Super League clubs would have gone, well, no, we're controlling our own destiny now, because we've seen what's happened over several years. I think the Super 8s was the tipping point, but they don't trust.
The Super 8s that all the clubs actually voted for, is that not the one?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think
was that the new beginning before this new beginning?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the faith between the two bodies, there is no sort of faith or trust in the ability there, and this has led to the current situation.
I'll tell you what as well, Mark. Also, when the new Super League deal comes in, 2021, that may be the end of the Challenge Cup, because the money's going to drastically drop from Sky. We know that it's going to be massively dropped, and then the Super League clubs might say, "Well, listen, we don't really need as many games. The Challenge Cup is
I think it might go the other way, Gary, because they might think, actually, we need to go to Wembley because we need to get some more money, and it might actually, in a strange way, be a good thing. I think.
Oh well, what I'm saying is because the money that's going to be dropped from the Super League level from there, then they realise the Challenge Cup has got that importance. So why are they putting the onus on the importance of it now? That's what I'm saying.
Going back to the governance issue, which is something that we spoke about at length when Rob Elston came on the market. There's a couple of precedents in the not too distant past about the RFL getting very, very close to not being sustainable. The first was in the mid-70s when the game was absolutely on its uppers, and Messrs Oxley and House came in. And basically,
by the way, did a great job.
Basically, because the club said to them, "Do whatever you want," because we're virtually bankrupt. There's no spectators, no finance, and over the course of 10 or 15 years, totally regenerated the game. Funnily enough, based on exactly what Rob Elston is saying, is turning to the personalities of the sport and promoting them. The other was just after the 2000 World Cup, which financially was an absolute disaster. The RFL got as close as you can get to being wound up. And it took, again, 3 or 4 people to take control of the organisation. That was mainly Chris Casely, Gary Hetherington and Nigel Wood. And at the time, it's what the game needed. And financially, it took it from clearly bust to 4 or 5 or 6, 7, 8 years of sustained profit. Not big profit, but we moved away from the fact that the governing body could have gone. At the same time that the World Cup was happening, Super League wanted to go its own way, had its own administration, and within 2 years it didn't work. There was an over-duplication of resource that wasn't there, and it all came back into in-house. And the only way we can solve all of the issues we've got in the sport is if everybody is working together. And Rob Elston then becomes the man that drives the sport, not the man that drives the bit of the sport that makes it. That's where I think the RFL have made their mistake. When Rob Elston came in, the upgrading of Ralph Rimmer from acting to full chief executive should have stopped. And that if Rob Elston does have the qualities that we think he does to take us to a different level, because he's an accountant and he's a media guy and he's worked in the Premiership, he's worked in Scottish football, he's got in his CV exactly what the sport needs. He needs the power. Because at the moment, everything he's saying, and no doubt we'll talk about some of the interviews he's done, it's all notional. I'd like to go to Barcelona to play in the...
maybe.
I'd like to have 2 referees in 2020. I'd like to have a different way of voting for Man of Steel. That's going to get me buying a season ticket for sure. But what it can't be notional. What it has to be is we're implementing it.
Yeah.
And you can only do that if you've got all parts of the game working together.
And I agree with this. And I made some inquiries about New York today, and all right, they don't exist as it stands. They don't exist. But should Robert Elston now be saying to the people behind New York, we need to see what you're doing, because in 3 years, or 2 years, when I'm going to Sky, actually what I want to do is say that there's 2 in France, there's 1 in America, or 2 in America, 1 in Canada, whatever mix that would be. we need to be looking at that. Now, it's my understanding that those talks have happened. They're still waiting an answer from the RFL, from the initial fact-finding mission that, to all extent, is a jolly up. You know, it sounds like an email's been sent, oh yeah, well, this, that and the other, blah, blah, blah. It hasn't happened. It's another RFL mess-up. But I'm with you now. I'm starting to look at Robert Elston and going, you've been here for 6 months now, and granted, you got dealt a bad hand because of what happened when it got announced.
But again, he has to take some responsibility for that.
Well, yeah, he does, look, right. But I'm getting increasingly worried, right, that I thought he was coming in as an independent person to say, you want me to run the league, this is how I'm going to run it. You know, if a chief exec comes in and runs the company, he runs it, and if the shareholders don't like it, they get rid of him, they get someone else. I get all that. But it seems to me like he's a puppet. And I'm like you, I read his interviews, and I'm not criticising the interviews. There is nothing there to say, we're going to have 16 teams in 20. The line is, there'll be changes next year, but believe me, year after, it's going to be great, Super League. What? Listeners, this show next year is going to be wonderful.
Yes.
Oh, you want to see what we've got coming on? Honestly, mate, no expense spared. It's crap.
In fact, I think Billy Slater, Cameron Smith and Jonathan Thurston are on this show.
They're going to be on.
All being well.
Don't worry, we'll find the money. We'll find
Where
the money.
are you three going then? I'm saying, where are you three going? I'm the leader of this year.
But that is a statement. That is a statement. Oh, it's going to be great. How? Tell me how.
But Mark, but also...
New York, our team's coming in. Are you expanding it? How's it going to look? We talk all the time.
How do you want it to
what
look?
Is Super League going to look like
what
in
do you
3
want it
years'
to
time?
look like?
What is it going to look like? Is it going to be the same 12 we've got now?
Also,
if it is, the sport's on its
But
backside.
also throw in internationals. Because the only way this sport is going to resonate in the way that Rob Elston wants to is if we have... I mean, 2019, there is a mid-season international window. It's agreed. But because it hasn't been asked for by the RFL of Super League, we've now got a full season of fixtures. There is going to be no mid-season international.
Well, is Mr. Elston then going down the NRL route, and he makes no apologies for that? Is it going to end up where we do, and we've said this before, the only way to get the international calendar firmly in is to replicate the NRL season. Now, they don't have a Challenge Cup, that's one thing. And that would mean playing less games. Well, and how the club's going to go? I don't think the clubs are going to go for that.
But maybe if one of the things Rob Elston had said in the interviews that he's currently doing was Super League's going to be exciting because I guarantee now that by 2021 there'll only be 26 rounds. The clubs have got 3 years to become more marketable and sustainable. I could buy into that. But that's the bit that's missing for me at the moment.
Yeah, but one word what's been used quite a few times, well, certainly by Elson and certainly by Lanigan, is new era. We're coming into a new era now.
New
but
beginnings.
What era is it going to be then?
As we've said though, Gary, we've said, the people that run the game are, in my opinion, the people that are holding the game back. Because if Rob Elson comes in and goes, right fellas, nice to meet you all, we're having 16 teams in, and by the way, you and you, we're getting rid of you because, quite frankly, look at it. You don't do this, you don't do that, you don't do that, and you don't do that, and that's not good enough. So either you do it, and you come in within a year and you say, there's the money to do it, or you're gone. But is anyone going to do that? We all just carry on, Joy. It's like, oh, we've got a new, everything's going to be great. No, it's not. It's like our little crappy cameras when they go off. They go off because we ain't got any money to buy any more. If we spent millions on it, we'd expect better production. They're not spending any money. How are you going to get a different outcome if you just do the same thing? Yeah. Oh, new beginnings. Great. Still be freezing on the 31st of January when the season starts. People will still be moaning just because you've got a shot clock. They'll be moaning about the referees and whatever else. 2 referees. Where are you getting all these refs from? They've just got rid of 7 of them, commissioner. So where are they going to get them from? I am really, and I think talking on Twitter, and probably a bit outspoken at the weekend. People say, "Oh, it's going to be an RFL bite." It's not an RFL bite. It's asking questions, and I think now we need to start asking questions about the other side of the fence as well.
What happens with the next TV deal? Who negotiates that? The Super League TV deal. Who negotiates that?
Super League. Rob Elson will.
So the rest of these clubs are all, arguing about. They've got columns in local newspapers arguing about why loop fixtures are nonsense, while they indeed, in pre-season, hold fixtures against teams they're going to play in the season themselves. What are these chairmen going to do when the drawbridge is pulled up for real this time?
Well, it won't be. It won't be because there is a guarantee in there of a percentage of money. Now, what that percentage will be.
The drawbridge up into the
But it's a percentage that is in a ratio to the total amount.
No, that's what I mean.
So
it's a
if the
percentage
total,
of the deal, isn't it?
but if the total deal
goes down,
falls
theirs
below
go
a
down.
certain amount, there's nothing.
Ah, right, okay.
So these chairmen who are all, got their local newspaper columns, which I'm sure are read by hundreds of thousands of people, preaching to the converted, because the only people who believe what they say are the people who support those clubs. What happens when the drawbridge is pulled up? Because, who's to say that Super League, when its new TV deal comes in, and it's only got enough money for, I'm just making these things up, 12 clubs, and we've been off a couple who are already in, and maybe more because we bring in New York or whatever, and there's no way then for, say, I don't know, Bradford to get in. What happens then? Who are they going to get their own TV deal with? Because they're not going to get their own TV deal. It's all right, people saying, the Championship and League One clubs should break away, and perhaps they should. They ain't going to get a deal with anyone. No one cares about second tier. There's bigger crowds in seventh tier football, and that's not on TV.
Yeah, and another thing, for people that mourn, John, like the Championship on telly, we'd all watch it because we like rugby. We'd watch it, if we would watch it. But the reason that the Championship's not on telly was because the RFL didn't have the brains to say to Sky, yeah, you can have the rights, but you've got to show 20 games a season. And they'd have gone, no, I don't think so. Or, all right, we'll offer you some more money, but we won't have it on. Or someone else can do it. But so all the clubs that are mourning, they're not on the telly. It's actually the RFL's fault, isn't it? They agreed the deal, didn't they? No one else.
I think the worrying thing too is that the TV market has changed. It's changed so much in the last 8. I mean, you look at Premier League football, the ratings are down. The big TV deals of the past, and I think the NRL's acknowledged this as well. They're not going to keep going up. They're either going to stay the same or go lower. Most likely go lower because ratings overall are going down because people are watching different
and advertisers
devices.
aren't paying the amount of money that you need to keep it going, and that isn't going to improve. But the NRL have already taken matters into their own hands by putting out a digital offering.
Yeah, and their own media unit. Yeah.
So, they have acknowledged the fact that they need to take matters into their own hands. My worry is something that we've spoken about many a time. You are a fortune of history and a hostage to history. But that doesn't mean that you can't change. The new 4020 is out this week. Thought I'd drop that in.
You are allowed to mention that. You are allowed.
It's the name of the programme.
One of the pieces in there is Mike Latham's wonderful 2-page that he does about the history of the game. Looks back on some heritage. And what he's focused on in the one that's coming out on Friday is what happened in 1906. And the game went down from 15 to 13 players and introduced the play the ball. And the reason it did that was because people were stopping watching. They weren't going to games anymore. They thought the game was becoming staid and predictable. And they wanted to speed it up. And they wanted more tries to be scored. And you could imagine that the press releases that went out in 1906, Rob Elston could have written yesterday for this competition. But we made a radical change. And it changed the way that the game was perceived, and it gave it a bit of life that it desperately needed. So if we do have to sit down and say, look, the full-time rugby league and the part-time rugby league are oil and water these days, that we need to find a way that sustains the part-time because of the role it plays in the communities that are traditional to the sport, and it has a real material effect in those communities. There's a Sport England report out saying that kids are inactive in socially uneconomic places, and they need people to go in and change that. Well, Rugby League can do that. Rugby League can go into the deprived areas of Rochdale and make a real difference through the foundation at the Hornet. So there's an absolute need to keep these clubs going in a part-time basis, serving a role. But at full-time level, if we're ever going to get any money off a broadcaster, if we're ever going to bring in a sponsor that isn't mushy peas, if we're ever going to get television deals...
They're all right, mushy peas.
But it's not all...
Yeah,
but would you want them all day, every day?
Yeah,
no,
you
probably would. But what do we need to nourish the sport at full-time level?
Yeah.
And if Toronto are saying, if you want us in, we need a second team in our part of the world, if the French broadcasters saying, if you really want us to ever put any money in, we need 2 teams in this part of the world, if we're serious about taking the sport to the capital, and London are currently now, what do we need to do to bolster? All of these questions are the ones that we should be asking at the moment, not bringing in a bloody shot clock.
I'm concerned that Martin needs to
You all right, Phil?
Sorry.
Martin needs to...
You almost got angry then, didn't
He says, I've been really looking forward to the new season with the quality players coming. 40 minutes into this show and I'm ready to drive to the Humber Bridge and take a leap.
No. You have to discuss this. This is the context.
Yeah, it is.
But the new players are fantastic.
Yeah, they are.
And we need to go and watch them.
Yeah, they are. But it doesn't mean... as much as we like it, it doesn't mean anything to the bloke watching in London. He ain't bothered. He's going to get it because Conrad Hurl's
but also as well, fellas, right? You mentioned earlier around about a think tank, right? Well, Neville Smith's leaving. You know, let's not beat about the bush here about Neville Smith. Neville's done a sensational job with Sky with the Rugby League. Great bloke.
The look of the sport
he's
fantastic.
done a great job, and he's leaving in April. Sky have pulled out of cycling, so that just tells you there now. I'm thinking here now as a think tank, thinking, tell you what, there's something going on here. All right, we don't negotiate till 2021, but Neville's not leaving for a reason. Neville loves his Rugby League, so he's leaving for a reason from a point of view where is this a little bit like Titanic? This now. The bubble is bursting, and to be honest with you, I've had my time. I've took it as far as what I can do. My question is, from the think tank people as what we are, to Robert Elston is, who's going to defend our sport? Who now? We know that Sky are pulling on cycling. We're a little bit worried about the money. We're looking at 30 million. If it's dropping to 25, I don't think we could survive from there. Are they asking the questions already, even though we're just literally 2 years away? And then questions being asked? Because it's worrying times.
Well,
I'm telling you.
Here's a random thing to say. There's anyone bit of Sky say, you know, this money that you used to spend on cycling that really no one's actually bothered about, and the reason
the Tour de Yorkshire's massive. People love going out and watching stuff for free.
Okay, go outside and do a straw poll, and if you can get
many of
one
the people
person
in the Tour de Yorkshire
to name 2 people out of the Tour de Yorkshire, tell them we'll take them for a pint. It ain't happening. Have I got a Sky and says, why don't you have a team in Super League?
Yeah.
Why don't you put a team in Super League? What costs you a lot of money? Why don't you have your own team?
But
I'll tell you what, it'd be on Sky every day then.
But that isn't even as far-fetched as it sounds, because the NRL decided, and John probably far more expert on this than I am, decided they needed Melbourne as a new market. That was funded by News Corporation.
They own Sky.
Yeah, on Sky.
So should Sky own the London Broncos and say,
well,
look,
I'm only suggesting
if we're serious about having a major presence in the capital,
we
need to underpin that.
But it's like the link up with Manchester, the RFL obsession with going to Manchester,
which
right?
they might not now be able to afford.
Yeah, but so this obsession with going to Manchester. Has anyone got a shake man's song on? How you doing, pal? You know you pay, I don't know, about 100 million a month or whatever on wages at Man City. You don't fancy having a rugby league team playing in that nice little stadium you've got over there. It'll only cost you 3 million a year, and it'd be great for the community. You look at the money they've spent around there. Has anyone actually gone and asked them and said, do you want to put it, do you want to invest? You can call it Saudi, what is it, Abu Dhabi? You can call it whatever you want. You can have it playing here. Has anyone actually asked
It's not
them?
an obsession though with Manchester. It's an obsession with irrelevant things and throwing out. It's like saying, oh yeah, we could take Magic Weekend in New York. That's not going to happen. But people, it's just feeding the chooks. They throw the fish out. And it's like, well, Magic Weekend could be played in Barcelona. It's not going to happen either. But people are swallowing this sort of stuff. We need to actually look at the real issues. Well, it's like the dalliance, shall I put it, with the Herns. What's come of that?
Yeah, but what did we say at the time,
just stunts.
John?
They're just stunts.
It is the bloody politicians got to Bellevue on voting week. Here we are, look, Michael Carr, we're going to get you a new ground. 3 years later, not a solid... Have you laid that brick yet?
No, I haven't. I'm
off
on Sunday. I'm off on Sunday.
A lot of people are swallowing
take a brick, but when you walk in with a brick, right, just be careful.
Put it outside. Yeah.
Politics isn't the blood.
Leave it outside. But that's what it was always like, and that's why he's laughable.
But a lot of people do swallow it. That's the worrying thing.
I'm not so sure they do now. I know people starting to question everything.
But just going with the Sky thing and the cycling, how much money did Sky pay on? So how much are they saving there? How much did they spend on that?
I don't know. But
there's
a lot of money.
Millions. It's got to be millions. So what are they doing with that money?
Yeah,
well,
paying for Premiership football and Formula 1.
Let's not kid anyone else.
No, but Mark, but what I'm
Gary,
saying is,
let's not kid anyone else, right?
We have to be worried about this because
Yes,
Neville's
we
not
do.
bailing out for nothing.
No, you're right,
you.
we do. But let's not kid anyone, right? Because if Sky got outbid for the Premier League football, Sky would go bust within a week because everyone would go, I'm cancelling, and have no customers left. So that's their only concern. If they get another deal, then they might go, oh, actually, we've got a bit more than we thought. We've got it a bit cheaper than we thought. We can put a bit more into that. That might happen. Or they might go, we've overspent. We ain't got any money left. You don't know what's going to happen.
I think it's important that Rob Elston is an ex-employee of Sky. He gets in at a very high level. So I think he will be aware of what they are prepared and can offer in 2 years' time. My thought would be that the media market is becoming increasingly more fractured. You can't probably have one major broadcaster anymore. There'll be one that pays more than the others, but your packages need to be spread out among a range of broadcasters, and you need to bring in other broadcasters in other markets. So how are you going to do that?
But
if it's
why
not your responsibility to get another team in North America? Because that might be exactly what Super League needs at the moment.
That's my point.
Yeah.
Should he not now? Even and look, let's give him some credit. That might have happened behind closed doors. And he might just be straight batting everyone else.
I don't think it has.
Well, it hasn't, because I've spoken to the people involved. They haven't been approached. But that should be happening. That should be happening.
But
even
to do
if it's
that,
pie in the sky,
the
absolute
position,
rubbish, it's never going to happen. But we'll just plant a seed out there.
So he shouldn't be the chief executive. He should be the chairman of the sport. He should have the ability to make these decisions.
So what happens if New York get into the RFL and there's people who go, you're never coming in our competition?
Exactly.
It's like
you can't do it.
You know
But the first thing you've got to do is go to Sky, if they are your primary broadcaster, and say, in 2021, this is how the sport will look. That you're buying in 2023, it'll look like this, and in 2025, when the next World Cup comes along, it'll look like this. And by whatever it is, 20 professional teams by 2025, 16 by 2021, whatever it is, spread geographically, blah blah blah. Dublin's coming in. But what is the plan? Because we'll be sitting here for the start of the 2021 season. As the broadcasting deal is about to blow up in our faces and be asking the same questions. Nothing matters other than what is the overall plan for the sport? How do we all move forward together?
Yeah.
Before I forget, Stephen.
He's out of hospital now, and he's out of
he's getting
hospital.
better. We will get your photo eventually.
It's his fault. It's like that bloody brick that's going down at Bellevue.
We asked about that when we were on Radio Yorkshire. We left about
it's Mobile Rocket again this year.
It is, the Mobile Rocket Stadium.
Lovely.
You mentioned the Herdens there, and obviously that nonsense. Hey, maybe we could get tea and cake with Ralph. Who is one of the...
we had lunch a year ago, nothing's happened since.
Yeah, it's going to be a regular event.
Who is stroke are one of the biggest providers of televised sporting content to Sky Sports? The Herdens. Boxing, darts, whatever else. 10-pin bowling, for crying out loud. What did we actually do with that conversation with the Herdens? At the moment on TV, on Eurosport and Quest, because they are falling down the TV ladder quickly than we have. Going from the BBC to Channel 4 now to Quest, is the BDO World Darts Championships. # the other darts. They used to sell out the Lakeside all the time, even when everyone left. Even after the big split, Lakeside used to sell out all the time. They've had to give away 700 free tickets this week to make it look busy in the afternoon sessions. And those people, of course, now know not to buy tickets next year.
They'll get a free one.
Yeah.
Sounds like the Challenge Cup.
And every year, the bookmakers on Twitter, because they're all trolls, aren't they? They love it because they can dig out the clips of that drunk Aussie fella hitting 3 and whatever.
It was him.
Because they know now...
I thought he got 5.
Oh, he got 5, right? He got even better than I thought.
Must
Because
have been
they
watching
know
the wrong one.
it is the second-class product. And when the commentators are trying to defend it as much as they can, even knowing that they've just covered the other World Championship, and they know we're going to become the BDO. Because in the past, and they've got new leadership there as well, they've been running to the ground by people who haven't really got a clue what they're doing. And...
Who's in charge of the BDO?
Was
it a man who doesn't have a stadium named after him in Wakefield?
No, that was the fellow who ran snooker into the ground.
No, come on.
Until Barry Hearn rescued that. The BDO has all the history. We've got lots of history, don't use it right. But now...
# Yorkshire Cup.
Yeah. @ Cup Yorkshire on Twitter, make sure you're following it.
Michael Van Gerwen earned more money last year playing darts than it costs to run a Super League team. Just let that go in.
We are in the position...
How hard does he train?
we're in the position that we could easily become with the next TV deal. And we're all speculating that the TV deal's going to be less. It could be more, who knows?
All right, I'll give you even money to 2. I'll get first pick.
Are
you taking the bet?
But, look at where they are. They're struggling to sell tickets. They've lost all their stars. We've still got stars in our game, and we need to talk about that as well. But thanks to mismanagement in the past, they're in a position now where they think there's a joke.
Well, all right then. In that case, then it's a simple question: do Rimmer and Barwick need to go now? And I mean now, if the RFL is to survive or have any chance of surviving?
I think the board need to clean out as well. Yeah.
The whole job lot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's where we're at, isn't it? That's why. And again, I made the reference about positive. What having a go at people about, but I just think now the time has come. There isn't anything to be positive about the RFL. And you know, again, another point that I want to make is about those great magic, the figures from Newcastle and the North East. Improvement, loads of teams playing great. So what do? We move one of our elite events away. Now I get this is a Super League decision, not an RFL one.
But
again,
then
that's
why you can't have the split.
When in Super League in 3 years' time, we're going, I haven't got any players. I haven't got any players. Oh, all them lads that knew. Oh no, they stopped playing because you moved that to Liverpool and. I just don't get the. There's no joined up thinking. Brian Barwick's 80 grand. Would that? 80 grand. We use the term loosely. That's the reported figure. No one's ever come out and said it's a load of rubbish. Would that have been spent keeping those employment people down, the development people at Coventry, where we're getting new people
three
playing?
Or 4 development
so we get
officers
3 or 4.
Yeah.
So why would that be better spent
or
there?
in London. Yeah.
And that's why. This is what I don't get. Like you said, you fractured it now, and it's that broken. The bits that need to work together aren't going to work together.
Well, if you don't get the little things right in anything, you're not going to get. You're not going to bring the big
exactly.
picture. But you talk about development officer. My good mucker Lee Crooks, you know, he's doing a great job over Hull now, by the way, in the schools of development. But even the Newcastle development officer,
Wales under 16s.
Yeah, in there. But you know, he got finished at development.
Ridiculous. But that's what I mean. But yet that now is a growing rugby area.
Yeah.
You know, you've mentioned it yourself. The guy there's got some wedge. That could be that could be the next big Super League team.
Yeah.
And yet we're going to Liverpool, which is 10 miles down the road from Widnes and St Helens and Warrington.
We did have a Super League team there, and I think they might have finished 6th, which is pretty good in the debut. Had some problems, and then
they went to bail out.
But it didn't have problems. It lost £750,000 to come to. That's nothing.
Well, we lost
ultimate exactly. In what business do you take on a new development and not expect to lose money in the short term to gain money in the long term? I think the sport is littered with opportunities where we were in Milwaukee in the late 80s. You know, that was the start of we were going to conquer America. My issue is we are a big minority sport, and we have to be cognizant of that, and to make us anything other than that, maybe a small, big sport, we have to work together. The elements that make us what we are, principally the international game, which is the one bit of our sport that we've never done right, but appeals to more people. And let's face it, not only have we got a television deal coming up on the horizon, we've got a World Cup here, which could generate significant amounts of money on the horizon. That has to filter into what we want the sport to look like at elite level and community level. You can't do that if you've got 3 different bodies in charge of those. You know, the rules that have been brought in by Robert Elston to speed the game up, some of which just needed a memo to a coach saying, if your players fall over at dropouts, we're going to sin bin them, rather than install a shot clock. You know, we've now got 4 sets of rules because of that. You know, we've got NRL rules, we've got Super League rules, we've got not quite Super League rules, we've got international. What other sport could go to a sponsor and be credible and say, we want to sell you 4 different bits of what we've got? We are at the point where there can only be one. Now, who needs to step back and move in? That's an issue. I think, you know, in Rob Elston, we've got the right guy.
Well, David said, this is why Rugby League won't ever grow, moaning fans all the time. The sport is dying. It is dying, David. And if you don't think it's dying, right, as I said at the weekend, if you're one of the happy clappers, everything's all right, then you, my friend, are part of the problem. And that is not being...
it happened at my club.
You've just got to accept that things change, and at the moment, Rugby League is going down and down and down.
Does football, which I think is doing okay, is football doing all right?
Well,
does but does that not have a programme on after every game on every channel with fans ringing in moaning?
Yeah.
I don't think anything the fans say affects the running of the sport. We will be as positive as we can be about the new players coming in and the fact that hopefully there might be a new name on the Super League trophy, which is what it desperately needs more than anything else. You know, we've had a salary cap sport and we haven't had a new winner of the main competition since 2004. Right? So hopefully this year, with the spread of great players coming in, we might get a new name on it.
Yep.
We're happy to promote that, but I'll give David a small example. A national radio station that hasn't been in touch since the last ball was kicked of the international series rang up this weekend and said, "Can you give us a quick comment?" And I went, "Oh, season preview, all these new players coming, this will be great. You know, who's going to win the Super League and kick it off at the end of January? You must be really excited. Could you just give us 15 minutes on this debacle about Catalans Dragons?" That's nothing to do with the fans. That's the game shooting itself in the foot.
Yeah, but on the other side of that, we saw Ross do that great piece with the Broncos, and the same station ring up, "Oh, London, great, this is in the paper, we need to talk about it." Which shows you the other side of the power of it.
Give them a reason.
Yeah.
Give them the wrong reasons.
That's another issue when we talk about marquee players coming in and excitement on these players, but you've got to give the access to the media to these players. Like, I've had my own issues of late trying to get some of these new players. I'm not naming any particular clubs, but you just get knockback after knockback. I mean, you have to push it. And I'll point to Ben Barber last year. He was the standout player. He was very excited. He was on Sky every weekend, wasn't he? They did a great job in covering him. But elsewhere, did you see him doing any other media interviews? Did you see any in-depth profiles?
Have we had access to Tony Adams?
Well,
no, but I saw him in a really good suit.
Hell of a suit, yeah.
That was John Travolta.
One of the best stories?
Hold on. There's 25 granders, the players. Who is paying that? Is that still coming out of the Sky money? Are the Super League clubs now paying that, or are the RFL still paying it? And what access have we had to those players?
This was pointing out to me on social media last week.
The central contracts.
Yeah. Well. I wouldn't even be able to tell. I can't even remember who's on them. That's how insane.
Because we're not allowed to know. In the same way as you don't have to know who the marquee signings are.
Before we move on to that point, and it is, John's mentioned about access to players. He was someone who was at that time an employee of the RFL who wouldn't let me speak to Tommy Makinson on behalf of a national radio station at the Golden Boot Awards, but there you go. I don't know if Warren's listening to the wrong show today. I've not slagged off the BBC in a bitter manner, have I?
No.
I've been saying how we can work with them.
No, he's saying, have you done it? He said, have you mentioned the BBC 10 times yet in a bitter manner?
No, give it
as
a couple
per
weeks.
normal.
Give
Warren,
weeks.
you show me. You show New Richard.
Ask him why the women's
Tune in next week.
Trim the beard.
Yeah, ask him why the women's football show's on Nationwide and we're not classed as a sports programme. And that's what the MP should have been doing, by the way. They're completely useless.
But again, and it, I think it's a perfectly valid question. If you want to take it as a criticism of the governing body, fine. Where are the fixtures for the women's game?
I actually spoke to one of the people involved in Women's Super League today. They're hoping they'll be out sometime next month because apparently they think the season kicks off in April.
Brian Barwick.
Do you see the article today about the Women's Rugby Union fully been training for England? 26 full-time professionals.
It's difficult to get a sponsor for the women's game in Rugby League.
Who owns Women's Rugby League now?
If the first question is, "Oh, great, when do they play?" And you go, "We're hoping in a month's time we might be able to tell you that."
Who owns the PDRL? Same with the PDRL, no one knows what's happening. The rules need... We're getting more people wanting to play,
Absolutely.
so they need to firm up the rules.
They need to codify the rules, yeah.
And we can't do that because who owns the sport?
Well, is there going to be a league in PDR? There's enough teams now to have a little competitive fixture. Are we going to do that?
Brian Barwick's little black book. He was the head of sport at the BBC.
He had his book.
The ITV. He had his book here the other week with a hat.
Yeah, we've burnt it.
We're burning books. This is Britain in 2019. We're playing till March.
Well, actually, I threw it at Red Hall, but it didn't get very far.
Hit a closed door.
Every week on 5 Live they have this sports panel on a Friday lunchtime, and they have the most eclectic bunch of people you could ever imagine. They don't have the same old generic footballers, and I wish they stopped promoting Peter Crouch as if he's some kind of comedian. But you've got modern pentathletes on there, netballers, hockey players, whatever. Where are the Rugby League people, apart from Kevin Sinfield, as Phil mentioned? Why are we not promoting?
I thought you wanted Brian Barwick to be on it.
Well, he's got the access to these people. That's what we're told. He used to be the head of sport at the BBC, and yet there's no one on anywhere. We should be. We keep saying it, like being up on it about making stars of the Women's Super League players or whatever, but we're not doing anything. And it was mentioned on social. Well, it's mentioned in Rugby League World. Did their players survey. Guess what? The players are not happy. Great. Players mourning that there isn't enough individual promotion of players, right? They themselves on social media only seem to interact when they want to be lads and have some banter or chat up women or something, or swear, or be idiots. Apart from Jackson Hastings, who was mentioned by Peter, he's on there, he's good, he meets fans or whatever. Are they interacting with the fans enough on social media? Are they promoting themselves enough? Because the answer would be, no, because they come across as idiots. And our job...
It's Mr. Barwick's at the door.
Hold on, everyone be quiet, Brian's here. We're not in.
The media are complicit in this because the only rugby league place you could read about at the minute on the BBC website and in the trade press, who are the biggest two names of the 2018 season going into 2019? Zach Harnaker and Scott Moore. We're actively promoting these people. We, the Rugby League media, are actively promoting Scott Moore and Zach Harnaker. Great. Wonderful. Brilliant. Why don't we,
You were alright till he emailed.
I was.
Tom says, 1 hour of mourning and negativity.
It's not
Go
negativity.
watch another show.
Yeah.
You don't have to. It's like people moaning at me today for having to go at the Yorkshire Cup. Don't follow me on Twitter.
I don't see how you can be positive about this Challenge Cup debacle.
You can't,
about
you?
participation.
Is this not the straw that broke the camel's back? And what I will say, and I mentioned the hashtag positive rugby league. We know that, the full 80 boys over at Proper Sport, they're behind all that. Great, good for them. They did a poll on it. I think 90% of people, when it's unforgivable that they've been asked to pay the bond. So they agree with us, and it'd be interesting when they have their show, how they respond to what's happened over the last couple of weeks. We're all for it when it's good. Right, but the facts are Rugby League has got a hell in a handcart, and there's some people pushing it down the hill.
And I think there is a reference here to Tony Adams and his fantastic charity that he's got, Sporting Chance. Until you recognise what your issues are, you can't solve them.
Yeah.
So we're here to point out, because we care, and because we love the sport.
Phil, remember Nigel Wood kept saying there was no issues. He kept telling us all there was no issues.
But so did Gary Edmonton when Leeds were going to get relegated. He sent a letter saying, "Don't worry, there's nothing."
They didn't
to
get
relegated.
relegated.
I know.
Sorry, continue.
No, I'm just saying, you have to recognise your failings to be the best you can be.
Exactly.
And it's fine.
Admit you have a problem.
I mean, look at the attendances last year. If you want a reason why we need to have this discussion, every single overall attendance is down. So the Super League average attendance is down, the League One average attendance is down, the Championship average attendance is down. Those are not people that we're trying to attract to the sport who are new.
Yeah.
That's...
Who played in the game, the big game at Twickenham? Was it Wasps and Harlequins? All right, so two teams in London. I heard all them moaning. Yeah, they are. Sorry, moaning about the fact that they've had to give up a home game. They'll be going. We've just had 80,000 people. I don't know what the crowd was. All pay. All right, cheap tickets. Yeah. We'll get a chunk of that. You get a chunk of that. I'm picking both those clubs. Have not lost out from playing that game.
Well,
there'll be a whole host of new ticket holders. Ticket holders that have never been before, that they're hoping will be coming to more games in the future.
And why would the media cover an event with 80,000 people there?
Yeah.
You're giving them exactly what they need.
Someone's promoted a tweet into my timeline saying they're playing a game at the Olympic Stadium against somebody else.
One of the successes last year that we can credit the RFL for...
Hold on, what?
Double-header semi-final.
Hold on, can we edit this bit out? I don't know positivity.
Double-header semi-final was a great day.
Yeah, it was.
Have we announced we're doing that again this year and where it is? Can you buy a ticket for it now? I want to go. It was really good.
This is the point you make, right? Is I have forked out for I mentioned this before. I entered the ballot to go to Headingley for the Test match. In fact, if you want to come see the Aussies get whooped, John, I might have a ticket for you.
I've been to Durham before.
I've got 4 tickets for Headingley, first day of the game. It's 83 quid or something a ticket, right? 80 quid to go watch the cricket.
Which you're not seeing the result.
Test cricket, yeah.
You're only seeing the
watching
beginning.
the first day.
Although the way Australia are playing, you might. I'm going
to see who gets kicked out first. That's what I'm going to watch off the field. But anyway, 80 quid. Mark, you've got a day to pay for your tickets in full now, or you will give them to someone else. So I think, right, I'll buy them. I'll pay it. I've paid 320 odd quid, whatever it was, for 4 tickets. It might rain. I might not even see a ball of cricket. I'll get my money back, but that's the, as Jim Boyness said, that's the gamble I've taken, right, to go to the cricket in August this year. I bought them 10 months in advance. When does anyone do that for Rugby League? It's sold out. You can't get a ticket. You cannot get a ticket for Headingley on day one.
I can give you an example. I've got my working holiday in October looked out. World Nines in Parramatta, then the GB Tour.
The World what?
Problem is, we don't know when the GB Tour is going to be.
You don't know where you're going.
No,
and you don't know who's eligible for the World Nines.
Well, no, that's but
there's
we don't know.
There's 4 women's teams. You'd think one of them might be England. That all of these women that may or may not be kicking off in 3 or 4, they've got a World Cup to prepare for.
It's hard to book flights to the other side of the world and accommodation for the GB Tour when you don't know which cities and what weekends and who they'll be playing.
Yeah,
and it's only 10 months away. 9 months
but
away.
we have been saying, as a sport, it's nailed on for...
How many years?
A year?
At
2
least
years?
A year?
Yeah.
And if it's negative to mention that, then we'll continue to be negative.
Mary said Castleford's attendances didn't go down. They went up.
They didn't. If you look in the...
They went down.
Sorry, Mary.
If you look in the League Express yearbook, they went
Only
down.
2 clubs went up.
They went down by 1,400 on average. They were one of the bigger fallers.
Only 2 clubs went up, and that was Hull FC and St Helens.
We did some analysis.
But not by much. St Helens only went up by about 300, and they were...
They won the league. They won that trophy. They went, yay.
No, they didn't. Oh, bloody hell, we've won this. No, they didn't win out else.
We did some analysis using Wikipedia, which is never wrong, so it must be right, to look at the crowds from last year. Salford had most of the lowest crowds of the season, but then after
I'll tell you what, I watched the game of Rugby Union the other day. Sorry to jump in. At the AJ Bell.
Oh, yeah.
And I wondered what all those people were doing in the ground. I thought, they've never seen them there before.
Well, they're looking to get asked out for a fight afterwards
Steve
by
Diamond.
Can't wait for him to come back. And
is he still playing, that winger fella?
Yes, he is. I saw him. Yeah, he played. Yeah.
Until he gets deported. Did you see the crowd at Headingley on Boxing Day? Phil was there. I didn't bother. Not by not watching this rubbish game.
He was presented to it.
Oh, I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah. Rumours are there'd have been another couple of thousand they've scored.
That's where your brick was, wasn't it?
There was a bigger crowd at that than a lot of Super League games last year.
But a hell of a lot, over 10,000. And what does that tell you? Because there's not as much rugby. You want to go watch it? All right, I know they had a new ground, but even when it was at Wakey last year, they got a really healthy crowd.
But I think part of that goes back to the people that say we should be positive about the players coming in. One of the reasons people went was, the South Stand was open, there's a chance to recognise 13 legends of a club. But there was a genuine feel that some of the players playing for Leeds and Wakefield were, Danny Brough and Tui Lolohea were almost worth the admission fee alone. So,
that's not what Scoey said.
But by then he was shivering.
Lolohea or Scoey?
But people will go and watch Stars. We have got more Stars in the competition this year. That's good. The fact that we are playing at the end of January, that's not good.
Yeah, but Phil, everyone at Cass, Wakey, Hull KR knows there's more Stars in Super League. Does anyone else? That's the problem. No one else knows, do they?
Well, hopefully, touch wood, the video that comes out for the
season
promotion
starts in 3 weeks.
The video, the
it's supposed to be really good.
We've heard it's really good.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's only about the players. And this is
the Brownlee brothers are.
I think they're disappearing into the background.
They're running.
Yeah,
right.
But backwards.
They're rubbish at triathlon now, so no one cares. They're from Dewsbury now, not from Leeds anymore.
I think we should all read what Rob Elston's got to say. We can all have our opinion on it. But actually, I'd rather see a page in a national newspaper about one of the new players. Because Rob's quite rightly said we need to focus on personalities.
But they'd rather write about Scott Moore.
No, but then what we've got in a full-page national newspaper today is an interview with the bloke saying we need personalities. Well, shouldn't that interview have been with a personality?
I don't mean to use Scott Moore and Zach Harley great examples, but they're obvious ones to use. I like the fact that we started the season already. Martin and Luke think the crowd was bigger at Headingley. So we've already got that conspiracy theory going on.
The ripping Wakey. Yeah. The ripping Wakey. Is that what you're saying?
That's what they're saying.
Rob Wakefield. Leeds of Rob Wakefield. What do you reckon?
I saw the chairman of Wakefield after the game.
Congratulations, Mr.
Who is now
married. He's got married for the 12th time. 12th time Mr. Carter got married, eh? Who's learning his lesson, wouldn't he?
Who said after that
3
game?
years, Michael.
that he was absolutely delighted with his share of the gate.
I'm sure he was. Scully thought there were 24,000 there, but he had double
Just to see
vision
him.
at the end. Yeah. Is that right?
I left early, actually.
For the weather
You had to
beware
leave
trophy.
early. Why?
Yeah, 'cause
It was cold.
My daughter then, she was driving, so I had to go home with her. She was miserable, so I had to go home early. Eh?
I saw her
boys,
after the
anyway,
game. She wasn't
anyway,
miserable.
sorry, I need to clarify something that's become a bone of contention over the weekend. Did either of you get invited to Scully's New Year's Eve party?
No.
All right, okay. Did you?
Yeah, you're
All right, so it wasn't just. So it was all three of us. So it's you that was telling fibs.
Actually, because you were all downstairs, and if I can remember, Cause
well, obviously you can't, because neither of us.
Rossie's downstairs, Phil's wife, and Tracy, Phil's sister. He was there in front of everybody, so you was all invited to my New Year's Eve function. You was.
Bull.
There.
Bull.
You was all invited.
Bull.
Rubbish.
Bull.
Yes.
Where's the bell?
Yes, you was.
I've got a new bell, by the way.
You was all invited.
Oh, bell over there.
I tell you what, let's go back to what Phil said earlier. Right? We'd like a new name on the grand final trophy this year.
We need a new name.
And I'm going early. It's Warrington.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm going early.
It's
Blake Costin is going to make the big difference, and also I'm going to say it as well. I'm going to go a little bit early as well here.
Are they going to do the treble?
I don't think they're bothered about finishing top. But, you said when we're out the Challenge Cup and the grand final, so yeah, Blake Costin is going to be the big difference. But just also as well for the Man of Steel. I think my three contenders for the Man of Steel this year. Let's just see what odds they are. There is it. Blake Costin.
He's a favourite.
Hastings and Jake Connor. They're my contenders already for the Man of Steel.
Jackson Hastings and Jake Connor need to be at clubs that might compete for trophies.
Oh, well, I'm just thinking with Jake Connor, as I said in my column today, is that he could be the new leader like Gareth Ellis for the Black and Whites, but he's got to be selected at standoff. I couldn't care less about the halfback pack.
What about Jordan Lilly?
Where is he these days?
Bradford.
Yeah. So Connor for me, he's got to be the standoff. He could be like the new leader like Gareth Ellis from there, because we know they've been lacking that since he left there. So, and Hastings, from a point of view, second season hiatus, team know how good he is now, so he might need a bit of pressure, a bit of help from Robert Lowy, and I just think Blake Costin, the attitude what he's showing, I can't wait to see him play this year.
Jason Clark's their big signing, I think.
I think they are going to win it. I genuinely do.
Second favourites though.
Well, interesting. Apparently,
St Helens are favourites.
A very popular bet to be Man of Steel. That's not going to happen, is it?
Who is?
Zach Haneker.
Well, do we know how Man of Steel's going to be voted for? Because
all exciting.
Is it going to be the public? Is it going to be
Don't let the public decide anything.
Well, that way Noel Edmonds goes out of celebrity first when you allow the public.
So who are you going for, Phil?
Blake Costin,
grand final winners. Mark's going Warrington.
St Helens.
You're going Saints, are you? Who are you going, John? Who do you fancy?
I think I do like Warrington. Yeah.
Second favourite with some firms is Luke Gale.
Don't back. Luke, we hope you well. Horrible injury.
That is a disaster
huge
for
blow,
Cass.
isn't it?
Absolute disaster.
Yeah, that is a disaster.
Should we tell people there's going to be a new podcast this year? Should we leave that a secret?
You can tell them if you want to
Could be
tell
a new
them.
podcast.
Well, with Gale going out, there's plenty of pressure on you, Truman, which I think he'll thrive on, but it's going to be who's going to be playing with him. I reckon Roberts, he's getting injected left, right and centre, so he might not be right. So now, Corey Aston...
With painkillers.
Yeah,
getting
injected
with painkillers, yeah. And, but with Corey Aston now, he's talking the talk, isn't he? So now it's maybe walk the walk. He's had the opportunity, not been given chances. He's been at the two clubs, Leeds, didn't give him it. Casting him last year. He had a decent game, I'm led to believe, in the pre-season. So now, Corey...
Jamie Ellis?
He's out with it. He did his knee against Featherstone. So it could be Corey Aston time. But one thing for me, I think Jake Truman, who'd be looking forward to the responsibility now, the added pressure, with Luke Gilby now.
Paul McShane, Darryl Clark, James Roby, Zach Hardacre, Alex Walmsley, Stephen Ratchford, Sam Tompkins...
How good that Alex Walmsley's in the list.
Jake Connor, Lachlan Coots, Luke Thompson...
Well, I'm just going to say...
What are the odds on Conrad
Them two front rows for Saints. Luke Thompson and Alex Walmsley, wow. They'll be awesome, aren't they?
Luke Thompson was phenomenal last year, and in that England series, just amazing.
Unless I'm blind, I can't see Conrad Hurrell on there. He must be on there somewhere.
So is he favourite, Blake Austin, is he?
Yeah. Who would have thought of you going for the favourite ledge?
I didn't know what... I reckon he's going to be the star man, and he's going to be the final piece in this jigsaw for Warrington.
And then will he play for Great Britain?
Oh, Phil, don't start.
Is England eligible?
Oh, rubbish.
Kangaloo.
He's an Aussie. It's an Aussie, simple as that. Give him some cheese.
And then Gareth Widdop will join them the following
He's
year.
actually Portuguese. He's played for Portugal.
Who?
Blake Austin.
You wasn't going to play for anybody, because we sent you out there, so... You know what I mean? 135 years ago for a tenner. So
You're not big on history, are you?
You're
not really.
we charged you more, or you got out even cheaper for a fiver.
I am blind. Conrad Hall is 40 to 1, the same price as Mark Sneed with some fans.
That might be worth each way bet.
But what
when is Watkins? Watkins back for the start of the season?
He's playing in his testimonial game on the 20th.
How good is it going to be for him not being... We're the best one in the world. When you play league, you think, stop him, we're going to stop
the only outlet.
Yeah. And now all of a sudden his mate in the other centre is going to be getting what he's getting.
Is he still the captain this year, Cam?
Yeah.
To be honest with you...
Can't wait to see him play again.
To be honest with you, I would have taken that responsibility away from him. I would have given it to Mirren, the Aussie who's come in.
I don't think the responsibility affected him. I think it helped him grow.
No, I just feel as though Callum, I think he just needs to get that smile back on his face and enjoy what he does.
Maybe his team didn't start winning then. That might help.
Well,
Come on, give him fair credit. You're in charge of
what I'm saying is here, with the forward pack, what they've got, he could get opportunities, but my concern is with Leeds is who's going to be the main organiser. Right, so the fact of the matter is the kid from Tonga, you can pronounce his name, can't you? Lola here. He's got to be the main organiser, and Richie Myler's got to be the support player. He's just got to be the feeder man to Loai, second man out from there, and if he gets the right service...
Not really an organiser, though. It's not really.
Well, that's what he wants to come as. That's what he said he wants to come, because Myler's not. So what Richie's got to be, he's got to be the guy who just serves him, and he supports any heartbreaks that around. But that's what he wants to come as the main organiser, the main man. John, he said it himself.
Yeah, but he hasn't shown that in the NRL.
Well, if he hasn't shown it, and if he can't do it, Myler can't do it, well, Leeds aren't going to win anything then. Because that's what we need. An organiser.
So Warrington are going to win everything, Leeds aren't going to win anything. That's your starting point, is it, this year?
Well, I'm hoping...
We're going to start writing this on the wall.
I'm hoping that the number 6 can do the job. What we needed was an organiser.
Steve Price on the phone, he's devastated.
Yeah, but what you've got to bear in mind is, you're right, is that Justin Albrook were right happy when you said we're going to win everything. We did say that's the kiss of death. You're not going to win anything, Justin.
And now he won't speak to you.
And now he knows. And now he's hoping. He's saying, I hope he tips Wigan.
Listen... Don't be getting like everybody else.
I don't need to. You do it yourself.
I don't have an influence.
You do it yourself.
I don't have an influence on team performances. So
you do it yourself.
Don't be getting like it. Did you see the letter last week in the League Express from somebody called Tony Sutcliffe in Leeds? Oh, Jesus Christ.
Was it Liam's dad?
Absolutely.
London will be a chance of winning the comp after he tips them for relegation.
Tony, if you're going to write a letter to the League Express, get your facts right first as well. And all right, I get it wrong sometimes. Certainly, everybody goes on about.
Hold on, sometimes.
Everybody goes on about London last year, which I held my hands up from there. Then he goes on. No, well, you put my predictions for the championship. Then they went about my ambassador role at Keighley. Well, let me just tell you this, Mr. Sutcliffe. I want the ambassador. Yeah, they give me the title ambassador, but I want the commercial manager. And let me just tell you, Tony, I brought in quite a few £1,000 at Keighley before you write a letter in. Just get your facts right.
Can I just ask? When does League One start? Same time-ish?
February
Same
17th.
time as the Women's League.
17th of February.
How the hell are Keighley going to be in this league?
Yeah.
Despite the fact they've got no players.
Well, they're still in special measures.
They've got some players.
They're in special measures,
training.
and they're hoping within 10 days to 2 weeks to be out of special measures and be back up and running. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, they've got 23 players training. But as Mark has
sadly,
mentioned...
Scully's one of them.
All the ones who didn't sign for league.
Showed plenty of pace in pre-season at this moment in time.
Why, is there a burger van at the end of the pitch?
That's a bit harsh, isn't it? Bad for you.
and it's downhill.
Do you know what? Yeah, and it's only 5 metres away.
Toby's asked if Scully's managed to get his press pass yet. I mean, the worrying thing is, me and Mark have applied for which family fortunes computer coming through.
Yeah.
But are you applying to the RFL or Super League for your
Well, I
passport?
applied to the RFL for a Super League pass, but then I think I can just go wherever I want.
Well, you can go to Catalan every
if I get banned from the summer bash.
At the start of the Communards video...
You're the only man at the summer bash.
Yeah.
At the start of the Communards video, don't leave me this way. It has an application, doesn't it? It just has a big stamp saying decline. That's just
we are the Communards of Rugby League.
Well, next week we're saying don't leave us this way. Don't leave us this way because we've been rejected.
Someone will now put.
Anyway, to be fair, we should be all right because I don't even think the media bloke knows who we are.
Yeah, but the lads asked the question. Am I getting mine this year?
Let's get ours first because we're on thin ice as it is.
No,
we're on thin ice as it is.
Clearly,
so if we label you in with us, that ice is gone. It's gone.
I'll come on to Salford in a minute.
We've got to try and work his way in.
A couple of people have asked about Salford.
Well, If I'm going to get banned, I want to get banned under my own sting, not because I hang around with you.
And you've got a chance of getting in a car park as well.
Phil mentioned it.
Hey, I always get him at car park at Old.
Oh, he
He
does.
goes so long distance. I
Oh,
always get him at car park.
sorry to butt in, right? I arrived at the KCOM Stadium, right? When was it?
Oh, yeah, a couple of weeks ago.
A couple of weeks ago, week before Christmas. Young kid walks in. I wasn't on the list to park in that car. He didn't even have a list with him. I wound the window down and went, "Hiya, Mark, you alright?" He went, "Legend not with you today." I thought, this isn't the football. This isn't the foot. He was amazing, knew who I was. We went, "Is a legend not with you today?" He says, "I'm a big Rovers fan." He said, "But next time he comes to the rugby, I'm going to get my picture taken with him." And he just went, "Just park where you want." What the hell?
Well, the Legends gives you the
The
influence.
legend-
You
I
get the
could
car
not
park.
believe it.
Eh?
I couldn't believe it.
There you go, son.
He's a legend, not.
You even get the car park. You even get the car park or something.
They call the car.
It'd be one of his-
I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure if I go to the cake on this year with that age.
It'd be one of his offspring.
You're banned. You're not allowed anywhere near.
Phil mentioned it earlier. West Wales have been deducted 4 points for having ineligible players. How can you sign ineligible players and still lose all the time? Get some ringers.
By
in.
100 points.
What they been?
Got the wrong ringers.
Yeah.
What they been -4 points for this season?
Starting the season on -4.
What from last year? Well, how can they win?
What is the purpose of that?
That's just flogging a dead horse.
What is the purpose? That's like bloody finding the bulls after you dig up
I
to them
saw the
all
West
that
Wales. I
money.
saw the West Wales a couple of times. I said last year, to be honest with you, they could have had 26 players who weren't registered and still been useless. And so the penalty.
I think there will be better next year. Well,
ridiculous.
A couple of people asked about Salford, as in, what's happening with Salford? And they learn, not learn. Are they going down? Will they last the season? Blah blah. They won't. They will last the season by hook or by crook, won't they? But what is happening at Salford?
I don't know. Do you know, John?
I don't know. It's a good question. I
Well, we
think
get awkward questions
Yeah,
from direct.
'cause you're
Yeah,
a journalist, you see.
I think it was Ross Heppenstall's story that they had asked for a loan because they couldn't cover their month's wages for, I think it was December, and they were granted that on a few conditions, but they decided to find the money elsewhere, which they did. So I guess the problem averted now, but I mean it does raise a few flags.
and they
of
have
what's gonna happen.
changed directors. The man who was the director is not currently the director. Another man who was a director of a holding company is now. So there is some shuffling going on.
I think like how you got rid of Kieran Cunningham at St Helens, this Salford
What?
director, because he was on the show elsewhere, and he gave him a hard time.
Oh, that's
He had great plans.
Bang out of order. I've added the Ipswich manager to my list as
No.
well after he got the bullet after I had a word with him.
I think the shame with Salford is the fact that they've got two of the best young progressive coaches that I think we're big fans of.
Who's that?
Salford.
I
Ian Watson
enjoyed
and
the-
Martin Gleeson.
All right. Because Willie Porchin's been given the
Well,
I
I was just going to say, on a part-time basis, I think, again, it's sad that they didn't mention that Willie isn't with them anymore. But that's an issue.
Well, so you gone for Costco?
Well, we don't know, but
Obviously.
the fact that he's walked into a potential job elsewhere would suggest yes.
And I think the worry is for Salford the same that we've always had, that nothing has changed. The infrastructure at the club is exactly the same. Their top 17 could probably give anybody a run for their money. And in Hastings and Louis, they've got one of the best half-back pairings. But Hastings is only going to be there for a year. You know, he's paid for by his patron, as indeed is Joey Lussey.
Yeah, but I don't think that's a
That's
problem.
not necessarily a
Ben
bad
Barbu's
thing.
only
No.
ever going to be here a year. Let's be fair. You know, let's be absolutely fair.
But Saints have got some really good youngsters coming through that
Yeah,
would
all right,
benefit by-
different argument. I get the overall
my
picture.
worry for Salford is the same that we've had for the last 2 years, that nothing has changed in terms of the infrastructure.
I do enjoy my annual chat with Ian Watson at these season launches where I go, so Ian, it's all gone wrong again in the week before. Because, you know, last year it was Robert Louis had been linked with Hull KR. So, Ian, what
Season launch, did you say?
firefighting? Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, wherever it is. Whenever.
Wherever it is. Have we got,
Where is it,
Have
Rich?
we got a season
Yeah.
launch?
That'll be you. In Cat's Bar. It'll be in there. You'll come down, be alright. With the Women's Super League attached to it, and the Championship and League One. And I don't think any of the Championship or League One clubs from Yorkshire will speak to me anyway. I've been slanging them off all weekend.
Well, that's because you're
What's
right.
going to happen about Bradford anyway? They're playing Saturday and Sunday. If I were Michael Lawrence, I'd be a bit miffed off about that, if I'm honest. His testimonial game at the weekend.
Oh,
And
so they've got the Yorkshire Cup
they're
on the
playing
Saturday.
Saturday night in the Yorkshire Cup, and they're playing at Huddersfield on the Sunday.
Player welfare.
I would be I think they've got enough players, but I'd be a bit miffed off about that because Michael Lawrence has arranged a testimonial. The Bulls, as we know, well, I'm picking that they're setting 3,000 there on Sunday, but whether you're going to set 3,000 there when they're going on Saturday, I don't know. I don't like that. I've got to be honest. So that's not a pop at Bradford before someone comes on and calls me names and then apologises afterwards.
But let's be honest as well that it's a lot of an ask of spectators to pay for two games.
That's my point.
In the pre-season.
That's
and
my point.
It's going back to the original point we were making early in the programme that we preach stock averted and we leech off the converted as well. You can't do that. I think that's a bit. I don't like it. I think it's poor. Michael Lawrence is a top bloke, top pro, and I want him to get deserves the best Bradford team.
Turnout. Yeah, and it just doesn't sit right, does it? Again, it's another half-baked, and it's not a go at Bradford, it's a go at the competition. Surely they could have spread it out a little bit more or whatever, so that didn't happen. But that is disappointing, I have to say that. I do for the guys.
I must say as well, my lads yesterday in Hunslet Park side against York put up a really good account by all accounts, reading the reports, and James Ford was very, very impressed with the attitude of the Hunslet Park side. Lads never gave in on it. The scoreline was about 34-4, but overall they gave a very good account of themselves, and now they're in the play. You never know if the pro clubs who they're playing against don't have the right attitude. There could be a big surprise.
Well, they beat Fev. They might beat Fev the way Fev are going at the minute.
Well, Fev are just giving trialists to everybody, aren't they? You might get a start match. To be honest, the way Fev are sort of giving trialists.
If they're going downhill, I'll start.
Well, the coach shouldn't hear it anyway because he's still sorting out his visa.
All right,
Which does ask a question.
Shouldn't he just get a holiday visa? Isn't that what you do?
Of course he can. Yeah.
You can work on those, can't you?
Yeah.
He watched their first pre-season game at Local Rivals Casper live via a private YouTube link.
I bet he switched that off after 20. Oh, God. My visa's not come yet, lads. No. We're about a 9-month delay.
I reckon August,
And also, he said in there, he listened to Paul March's half-time team talks. What for?
Coaching by Skype.
It's like Simon Wolford.
It's the way to go. You don't actually need to be in the same country the team that you coach.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you could do that, then it'll save Mark Campbell a hell of a lot of money, won't it, on flights and accommodation, what have you? Do it that way.
Phone bill might be a bit.
Do it that way. Eh?
Wi-Fi.
Hey, you see,
Not in Featherstone.
Rugby League was on Pointless last week. In the final round, the category was English Rugby. So obviously these two contestants thought, hey,
what you going to say?
Will Tarling, Johnny Wilkinson, all these lot. No, two of the questions were about Rugby League. Name players from the 2017 England World Cup squad, which I think everyone was pointless about, from Kevin Brown and the Burgesses. And name a Super League club. And all the Super League clubs got named, apart from Salford, who were pointless. The contestant went for Wakefield Wildcats, which now don't exist. And never existed. Never had it. So that was good. This weekend's fixtures, by the way. Go to a game. Saturday, Fencing versus Suns at Parkside and Halifax versus Suns at Featherstone. That's in the Yorkshire whatever competition.
West Riding Cup.
I'm sure it's all anyway. Rochdale versus Rochdale and Salford versus Swinton, plus Bradford versus Dewsbury in the Yorkshire Cup semi-final. Interesting. Sunday, Barrow Oldham, Doncaster Leeds, Huddersfield Bradford, Hull Keane Widnes, Wakefield Hull going to go to that, and Workington versus Whitehaven, plus Batley versus York in the other semi-final of 10.
It's a Dave Topper trophy as well, isn't it, on Sunday, Wakefield Hull?
Alright, okay.
A great man.
Good. Well, what is it? Kermore and
Rossbrook?
Yes,
so again, I hope they get a good turnout. I'm sure they will as well. If the weather's all right.
Hull will bring plenty over,
Yeah. It will.
The young kids had a good victory against Doncaster yesterday, so depends what side Valles is putting out.
Does that mean their losing run is at an end now because they beat Doncaster in a friendly?
If it was unlimited substitutes, no.
But Batley won the weekend, and that was their 8th straight win in a row, according to Twitter.
Well, I think you can.
It's in the Yorkshire Cup, Rich.
An actual real competition.
Can't you get your ban payoff as well if you're playing these friendlies? So they must count. Yeah?
Exactly.
All counts. So wait till the winners of this competition, and if it's them.
Anybody heard if Tyler Randall was called up before the beak for his Boxing Day indiscretion?
Well, you're trying to get people banned off
that. That was a good swinging arm. That was very festive.
He didn't miss.
Very Christmassy.
Yeah.
And I think Rob Hicks did exactly the right thing, sin bidding and not sending him off.
Toby's on team RSW anyway in regards to the Yorkshire Cup. He knows that we're speaking sense on this.
Can we, going back to the RFL, right?
Why did they allow the cup to be called the Yorkshire Cup?
Well,
it's their fault.
Well, all right. Look, we're breaking rank here now. Right? We went to Scotland, Phil. I went to Scotland.
We were there,
where we were approached by a former high-ranking RFL official.
Gets no higher.
Gets no higher. No.
Was it Richard Lewis?
No, it wasn't Richard Lewis. No.
Richard Draper.
No, not him. And we were told about the Yorkshire Cup. I've got an exclusive for you, lads, but you can't tell anyone. The Yorkshire Cup, we're going to invite all the teams that basically voted for the RFL in the big split vote, and those that didn't, we're not going to invite them. It's a way of saying thank you to the teams involved. Is that or is that not what happened?
It's paraphrasing it almost exactly as I remember.
So Nigel Wood told us that. How would Nigel Wood know that, right, before it had even been made public? That's a worrying thing, I think. How would Nigel know that? Serious question. Right, and he makes a farce of it. And why is it called the Yorkshire?
Well, Doncaster and Sheffield, isn't it?
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
in Yorkshire.
You just don't allow it.
Mansfield.
And they know it's not the Yorkshire Cup because they had another cup made.
Why call it the Yorkshire Cup then?
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're trading off their history and it's not right. I know people have called me boring and stuff for this on Twitter today. But I'm
you
right.
can't mess with history
Don't
and
follow
heritage.
me.
This is not the Yorkshire Cup.
I'm bringing back the Premiership. I'm going to invite West Wales and I don't know.
How are you going to level it up then? Who are they going to play? You set the bar at quite a strange level.
I think. So Coventry can have a trophy there. So it'll go 1996 probably Wigan.
And this isn't an original idea.
19 Coventry.
Because it does. I think somebody did come up with it on Twitter. But the thing to do is for Toronto to lose and Catalans Dragons to play for the Challenge Cup.
There you go.
Tom's accused me of making a Twitter account for the Yorkshire Cup.
Who has?
At Cup Yorkshire. That's not me. It's that person who wrote letters to the League Express.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. But you upset people, so that's good. You know, get some people talking about it. I've done their job for them, and they got all those big crowds, haven't they?
Rich, you're also not allowed to mention that Toronto paid their players late in December. That's not allowed to be mentioned.
Can I just say that?
Even though that is factually correct.
Well,
And they've admitted it.
yeah, they're thankfully they've got new investment of a huge size.
$10 Canadian billion or something.
Million.
I don't know how much the Canadian dollar is worth. For the pound,
$5.64 million.
It's rising, thanks to Brexit.
My main issue today, though, with the Yorkshire Cup thing was the amount of journalists who should know better, using the words revived, revival, resurrected, whatever. It's not. It's a completely different thing. Stop giving it great credence, or whatever the word I'm looking for. I'm angry now again. That it doesn't deserve.
Has he been on these now?
Yeah. He's had all the blue ones. They were red, white and blue then when they came. It's only red and white now.
Call it something else. It's got a sponsor. Challenge Cup haven't got a sponsor.
Are we anyway? Is any noises coming out about the Challenge Cup sponsor?
We made an offer, £4.50 last week.
There was somebody that they had lined up who backed out at the last minute.
Do we know who that was?
But on TV...
Do we know why they pulled out?
Whitby Fish and Chips. I don't know, honestly.
Millham are going to play Red Star Belgrade on the on the BBC website. Red Star Belgrade, who haven't paid $500,000, Millham.
They obviously don't think Red Star are going to get to Wembley.
# where history is made. That's the.
So there is some real romance about this. That one of, if not the oldest community club, is playing the newest name in the competition. Brilliant. I do hope Red Star bring almost the Serbian national team, rather than just the guys who play for Red Star, and that it's competitive.
Can they play? Can they play? Red Star, are they any good?
They're very good in Serbia, but how that equates to...
So the standard is the standard...
Well, this is one of the things we'll find out when they come over, but
okay.
I just think they need to get the best of Serbia, so if there's some pretty good players at Partizan Belgrade, then I think there should be a dispensation to allow them
to...
to...
Should Crooks, he used to be the head coach at Serbia. Should ask him.
Toby says we should have a 40-20 Cup for all the teams who didn't vote against.
There is a 40-20 Cup in the Yorkshire Men's League.
The Yorkshire Cup for that as
well, we'll just use the same name, but we'll just have another cup.
Absolutely.
All right, no problem.
Happy to have that.
Yeah, looking forward to it. You were chuckling. What were you chuckling at?
I can't remember what I was chuckling at, to be honest. It might be something on Twitter or Facebook. I like the fact Michael Carter's got his own GIF of his wedding.
Yes, I've seen that.
I retweeted that. So.
Yeah.
That's what I was laughing at, but I can't read it out on air. But he's got it from him.
Yeah, very good.
What's he got?
George, well,
he doesn't know what a GIF is.
I'll check your Gmails when you get home.
It's on the Twitter machine.
It's on the
It's a
Twitter.
new form, so.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Well done. John, who are you going for your top 5 anyway? We've not asked you. I don't think we've asked you yet.
Top 5 in Super League.
Yeah.
Ooh, Warrington, St Helens.
Is this in order?
No, but you can put it in that way if you like. Wigan, Catalans, and
Wakefield.
Leeds.
Yeah, I'll put Wakey in there.
Hey,
yeah,
there you go.
Wakey.
Oh, bad news anyway, because I'm just thinking BBC
Sorry.
Sport are looking for presenters. So it's got to get a 3-minute show reel. Can we get 3 minutes of me not slagging him off on this programme?
Yeah.
I can get a job at the BBC. Imagine that.
What, commentating on Milliman Red Star?
Yeah, just being a sports news. You know those people like Will Perry. I could be the new Will Perry. I could be the person at the grand final actually shouting, "Come
Shout at the referee if you want to.
Boo!" Marcia O'Neill has found £3.62 down the back of the sofa. The RFL can have it if they want to put my name to the cup this year.
Well, we've bid $4.50,
Yeah.
so you're going to have to up your
We could
offer.
go into
Well,
Unless you
you
wanna
could
go
have the
in.
1895 Cup.
Consortium.
Yeah.
We could do a dual one.
What is happening with the 18?
What is that another? Is that another RFL Cup where actually not everyone can play?
When's the final going to be played?
Well, not everybody wants to play.
That's
Not
fair.
everybody wants to play.
yeah, like Coventry in the third. Nah, can't be bothered.
Well, because the latter stages are going to be midweek games, and so West Wales and Coventry and I think London Scholars have decided probably not for us.
Okay.
Graham's asked us when we're going on the road. I think Graham might have asked us to go to his place. So
All right,
we'll
yeah.
sort
Next few weeks, yeah. Watch this space. We'll be out on the road. Yeah, we will be we're
any
taking
passports?
Scott at Hull. So I haven't planned anything after that, just in case. I don't want to let anyone.
It
down.
might be a 3-man show.
You'll be
Castleford the week
you'll be
after.
planning a funeral.
Harsh.
Yeah, but true. He's on the right lines. Yeah, we're going to be sponsored by Sun Life's over 50.
We'll get a free pen.
We
Is that all I'm worth?
And our money back.
Is that all I'm worth for £3? Come on, man.
It's a Parker.
Come on, that's a bit harsh.
Yeah,
It's a bit harsh.
We're
It's
there,
£3.
we're there. We're there. Yeah, you see.
Surely you get a 19-inch television or something nowadays, don't you? Eh?
Well, we'll see.
there's something
Could
else.
have been a 19-inch hot dog you'd have taken it. Wouldn't it?
Richie's got something on his mind.
Yeah, well,
His
I
brow
just-
is as far as Robert
It's
Elston's.
only because
at the moment.
Toby's reminding me of this because of one of the footballers has done a daft thing on social media.
All right. Who's that?
Well, a goalkeeper's done a Nazi selection.
Somebody called Henderson.
Allegedly.
That's why I wasn't going to name
He's
it.
denied it,
It's
hasn't he,
still-
apparently?
Yeah.
He's denied
Well, I just had my hand in that position, doing a moustache like John Cleese. That's all right. As we've seen in football recently, very recently, there's a lot of issues with racism, homophobia, everything else you can put ism at the end of it. Why don't we at the start of this season say zero? I know we probably are already, but just reiterate the fact that zero tolerance, no abuse. That's it. You're out, banned completely. Players, spectators, whatever. Why not?
Is that just a cheap point scoring exercise?
Yeah, of course it is.
or-
But it gets publicity.
And get the players to do the message.
Yeah.
As part of the season launch video.
Rugby League is a family game.
No, I mean the message.
Yeah,
The message
you
on
would
it.
have done that.
Didn't get paid.
No. You should do. If you're on a quid every time you get paid, you'd be a
That's it.
millionaire.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, like they never
Oh.
play at Wakefield.
Oh, I know, yeah.
Here we go.
We can't afford
Already. Season not even started. He's having a dig.
I'm waiting to see which club
He's
has
having
their,
a dig.
I'm waiting to see which club has their shot clock stolen first. By the way. That's a great wait for
As
them
opposed to the
their
scoreboard, yeah.
When did that scoreboard go?
While John's here, I think we should ask him about the World Club Challenge. Because that is something that, people say,
that happening?
focusing too much on the negative. The 3 weeks into the new season, there is a real event. I think the Roosters are one of those clubs that genuinely buy into this inter-hemisphere challenge. They'll bring the best possible team they can. I think Trent Robinson is a fan, having coached over
He's an
it.
internationalist.
Adrian Lamb coaching against his own club,
Yeah.
possibly even against his own son. We should be bulling this up, shouldn't we?
Yeah, definitely. I think it, not to be negative, but it ties back into it should be a standalone weekend.
Absolutely.
But I think there's another Super League game that day, isn't it? Too. But no, it should be a fantastic game. I mean, anyone who was at particularly the Wigan Cronulla game 2 years ago. I mean, I think it's whether you're a Wigan fan or not, go to the DW
Well, I
and
think
watch that game because it will be a great event.
Corporate sponsorship, I think they've had to put a second tier in, that means that people are supporting it. Again, the video that came out with Rob Elston outlining the fact we were going to have this more intense, quicker competition had fixtures at the end, but didn't have the date and the time on it. It's little attention to detail like that we've got to get right. But
Is he coming over Cooper Cronk? Is he fit to play?
That's a good question. I'm not
could
sure.
have been Ryan Hall's debut as well.
He doesn't need to
fit.
be fit though. He can just play in a sling.
Is Ryan Hall going to be fit? Is he?
No.
No,
Ryan Hall's not fit.
He's training, but I don't
Right,
think
he's not
he's
going to
going
be fit to play. Right, okay. Right.
Jesus Christ, he's spamming us on YouTube.
He is?
Yeah.
What?
It's a bit
So
disappointing.
Scully doesn't know how to use YouTube, but Jesus Christ's on there.
Read the Book of Truth. Is that related to Brian Barwick's Black Book? That's what we don't know. Nick's got a £5 to sponsor the Challenge Cup with.
Oh, you see, we're being gazumped.
Yeah.
We're being well, we'll go 550.
Yeah.
We'll go 550. There you
I mean,
go.
I've spent some money on some old board games today. But
If Brian Barwick was talking to us, we could text him our 550 now.
Stephen wants to know who will win the NRL this year, John.
John won't win it.
No pressure.
John won't win it.
Who's going to win the NRL?
I'll tell
this
you,
year?
Newcastle
Jeez.
look like they've got a decent team.
They won't win the NRL.
No, but
no. I think they'll
on
be better.
paper, they're
I think.
coaching turmoil.
I think the Broncos and South. Yeah. Well, turmoil in the Burgess household as well.
Sean,
I think Wayne
I don't
Bennett
know
and
what's
South
going on, I
Sydney.
don't know about
Well,
no, don't ask. Sean Fensom signed for Broncos today.
I got the other paper today.
London Broncos.
No, Brisbane.
The ex-Cowboys, ex-Canberra. Well, there you go.
Penrith.
Penrith, I think, will be
With
up there.
Ivan
They've
Cleary
got,
back?
yeah, they've got a very good young squad.
I think Steve Mascord's listening. I want to know why he described me as until recently long-suffering media personality.
What were you suffering with?
It's the personality become quite.
Oh, right.
There you go. There's the
Yeah, well,
about Sam.
You were suffering.
That's what I've walked from though.
Droll.
Well, that is true. That is true. I bought a Toronto shirt, so Sid won't be happy, from Mascot Browns, the official partners of Phil's shop.
Is
You
Cameron
can
Smith
buy
going
it
I'm
around?
going to buy a ball.
You can buy it.
I think so, yeah. I don't
going
think it's
around
been
again.
announced that he's
going around
signed,
again, is
but
it?
he will,
Right,
yeah.
Right. You can't rule Melbourne.
Isn't
you
it
can't
in-
rule Melbourne out.
But
can
I'm
you?
saying, is it interesting that with the first names we came up with didn't include Melbourne? Or Cronulla, or...
I think, well, Cronulla, I mean, they've effectively, coach has been banned, so you can't
they've
say
got,
they're all.
they've got Sean Johnson.
What's he been banned for, Flanagan?
Well,
for?
you remember the
Yeah, he drew-
Yasada, he was banned for a year,
Yeah.
banned from any contact with
Yeah.
any of it, and he sent over 50 emails and texts effectively recruiting for the next year when he came back,
Right.
and that's all been uncovered, so he's been deregistered and kicked out of the NRL.
Well, I mean, the coach of the club without a visa.
Well,
He's got an appeal at the end of January to try and get
So
his
who's
license.
coaching Cronulla now?
John
John
Morris.
Morris, who was the assistant,
Right.
him and Jim Dimmick.
Right, so I would imagine Shane will be doing it at home in the morning just to coach and well,
I don't think he'll be doing that again now, no.
he's a good player. I mean,
Doing it on Skype,
There's
Scully.
that.
Doing it on Skype.
Flanagan was a good player. He was a good, decent. Look, he was at Western Suburbs when I was there in '89. Yeah, he kept Raper out. Yeah.
Sean
Good
Johnson
hooker.
going to go well for the Sharks?
I think he will, yeah. Well, he's always been a bit maligned in his hometown for not sort of delivering, but
Pressure off
is-
a little bit?
Yeah,
Because it's
yeah,
not
I mean-
as in the spotlight?
yeah, he's not the face of the club at Cronulla, so
What about Barber as well at Queensland?
I think he's been training quite well. Yeah,
Has
I
he?
think they've got a young. They're rebuilding. I think I spoke to Kane Lynette last week, and I think you could see there was a bit of disappointment in a way how the old guard has been effectively moved out of that club. You know, Lachlan Coote's gone, JT's retired.
Yeah.
Sean Fensom.
Yeah, I mean that the core of that 2015 team sort of come to the end of its career and moved on. So I think they had a tough year. There's a lot of clubs I think that'll be looking to go, like Manly again, new coach.
Michael Maguire at Wests.
Yeah, it's a lot of new coach. I think there's about 6 or 7 or more new coaches. You know,
Which you can read about in the new issue of 4020 magazine.
Well, Steve Mascot said it's supposed to say long-suffering Wakefield fan. But obviously
just
the
long suffering,
some editors got off so,
just long suffering, Rich.
Yeah, the long suffering.
great service from Mascot
Well,
Browns.
you will insist on hanging around with
Well, yeah, this is true. Elsewhere, Paul says the Sherburne Bears will sponsor £10 for the Cup. If it gets any worse, we might be playing in the final for in a few years. You got £500,000, Paul.
I think you're in the 1895, whether you like it or not.
We've upset Julie.
Why?
Instead of having a pop about the Yorkshire Cup, why can't you give it a bit of credit to the 4 games that were of decent quality? I'm not saying they weren't.
Nobody's mentioned the games.
3,700.
It's just not the Yorkshire Cup.
3,700 were odds on. Phil, it can't be called the West London Cup. It's Yorkers in North Yorkshire. Our top company is called Super League, and that hasn't been Super for about 5 years. Oh, Julie.
I think York is in the West Riding, I think. It might be in North Yorkshire, but it's in the West Riding.
How is it Super League? It's not the Yorkshire Cup.
Let's not have a geography lesson, fellas.
And was it actually drawn? Was it drawn, by the way, or were the fixtures
Manufactured. But you played in a memorable, if not one of the most memorable, Yorkshire Cup finals.
Yeah, 88. Yeah.
Can't
Did
see
he? Hold on. Did he lose?
No, it's the one he won.
We're not bothered.
It's the
It's
one he
all
won.
right, Gary. We'll move on.
But you can't seriously think that the games that were played last weekend were under the auspices of that Yorkshire Cup.
Obviously not, because
So
the big boys out there, aren't they? But still, they're trying to reinvent it. And,
no problem.
yeah,
No problem.
To be fair,
No
to be
problem
fair,
with
Julie,
giving meaning
and
to
to
the
be fair,
friendlies.
Julie, if you're a long-time listener, you'll know Scoy's a big advocate. He wants to bring it back,
I do, yeah.
but everyone in the whole lot,
Yeah, it's a pre-season
and
tournament.
it's
yeah,
drawn out,
Yeah.
and maybe if
I wanna
one day
bring
we
it
ever
back
get to
properly.
that panacea where we do reduce the number of fixtures, we might say, well, look, if you want to play more
I
games,
thought you were going to say that panacea where Scully was in charge
there's
again.
oh, come on.
Surely not.
Nigel Wood or Gary Schofield.
Did you win in 83 rather, with Hull?
Yeah, well, I think
Well, I don't know, but at Cup
What, you won
York,
two
we
medals?
tweeted
I think I won it
earlier
3 times at Hull Yorkshire. But it didn't count. It wasn't a major, was it?
today. I see.
But seriously, yeah, you're a big fan of bringing it
I
back.
am,
aren't
yeah,
you?
I am both the Yorkshire Lancashire Cup, because when you look at all the pre-season friends, take Leeds for instance. Now they played a friend against Wakefield, and then this week they go to Doncaster. Make it purposeful. Make the fixtures purposeful.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the crowds
And then
will
they play
come back.
Castleford.
The crowds will come back.
Yeah.
I want it to come back. And I'm sure we could get a TV company, to put it out there without a doubt.
Film it on my phone if you
So,
want.
yeah.
Very quick.
Concerned about this one.
Yeah, we can
maybe.
market it.
I don't think we're anything other than admirable of 3,000 people turning up to it. And the fact that they're turning up because they think the friendly means more than just a friendly, that's brilliant.
No, you know what?
But-
No, I'm not having that. I don't think anyone's bothered.
But they
I
know
don't
it's,
think anyone's bothered.
they
I think
know
they
it's
just want to
not
watch their team
the
play.
Yorkshire Cup because
Well,
they've
that's
had
why-
another
They want to watch
trophy,
their
mate.
team
That's why-
play.
that's
They
why
want to watch their team
no.
play. They haven't seen them for
Yeah.
4 months,
But
3
they
months.
want to see them progress into a semi-final, and
10,000 people
win
wanted
a
to see
trophy.
Wakefield win the Weatherby Whaler Festival
Yeah,
Challenge.
there you go. You see, what's the bigger tournament, the Weatherby Whaler or the Yorkshire Cup? Yeah.
It's
Just
not.
saying.
It's not the old tin pot, that's for sure.
It is only a thing. I think they would have got a big crowd there when they play Halifax because two local rivals.
Absolutely.
Don't worry if you missed it. You better watch it another 7 times. Anyway.
I'm going to say my bash.
Hey, I'll tell you what, the Weatherby Whaler, can we get there for a fish and chip challenge? Because they're beautiful fish and chips, Weatherby Whaler.
Don't forget
Once
they are.
We'll
you've
get there.
paid for the curries, we'll talk.
My
through.
local's been taken over by them. The good people of Weatherby Whaler. Don't know
Right.
if they get me cheap ones either.
All right, fair enough. Have you got a new laptop, by the way?
No, this is my wife's. I'm still with it.
Oh, I'm going to say it seems to work. That one you normally turn up, it doesn't work.
No, but that's 'cause it's
Just an observation on life. There you
It's
go.
interesting. Over Christmas, there's a big ice hockey fixture in Sheffield. Sell-out crowds, Sheffield, Nottingham, and they also got 40-odd thousand people watching it on telly. Nearly 50,000.
Did they?
No one watches the Premiership Rugby Shield on Free Sports, but not many people watch Free Sports. in fairness.
Right, can I just come in? I was going to do it earlier when we talk about the Hearns. Phil, you might know about this. Mark, you might know because you're intelligent and social media and the streaming and what have you.
Obviously, you're not.
When
Hold on.
we'll just chop
Do
it
I owe
around
you a
here.
favour or something? Would it be nice to me?
Like when the darts over the Chris and Barry Hearn were saying they went to 135 different countries. The darts, right? And then yesterday, I was.
Doesn't mean anyone was watching it. It just means.
No,
it's broadcast.
but what I'm saying is they know there's a product out there. And then yesterday, when we talked about the Challenge Cup, when you talk about the FA Cup, even with the lesser sides, and it went out to 70 different countries. Is our sport getting this sort of coverage? Are we telling people from different parts of the world what products
I
we've got?
don't think the Challenge Cup's even shown in Australia.
The final definitely is.
But the other rounds.
No, but I'm on about the rounds and the other rounds.
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying. So we're not telling people about the
No,
great product we
and I
have,
think
are we?
that we've touched on that Toronto have had some short-term financial issues. One of the things David Argyle is doing, and I know we laugh at him, we're not in 150 million hours, but we have access to
4 billion people have access to the internet, so we are available to 4 billion people.
But what he is doing is television deals in countries where Rugby League currently doesn't have them, and he's talking about doing more in Latin America and China, and that's what we need. We need people who are prepared to stand up and say, look, if you watch it, if you come across it.
But,
you need to know more about
the point
but
I'm
you've got
saying
to put
again,
it out there first.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is we need to be employing these people at the head office, i.e. the RFL, to tell people we've got this great product. I'm only a
think
so-and-so
I
for
think
a while,
we-
but
I think
sure
we,
I can
we
talk a bit of common sense.
We subcontracted out to a firm called IMG, who didn't do a tremendously great job, I don't think, in selling anything other than... If you want Formula 1 in India, you can have Rugby League at 3 in the morning as well. Oh.
This is the one that's in a lawsuit with the RLIF, IMG,
Could be.
over the last World Cup.
Papua New Guinea.
But what I'm saying is, all other sports are doing it, and Richard's mentioned there with hockey and the crowds, what they're getting and whatever. They're telling people they've got a product. So why aren't we? Why aren't we telling people?
Was I concerned by Gianna on YouTube? The man in grey is ugly. Which one? There's two of them.
This is black. I'm just.
This is blue. This is definitely. There's only one man in grey.
This is blue. I'm colourblind.
Oh no, there's two in grey.
It's blue. No, this is blue.
You've got your Wakefield colours on this evening.
That's the point, Michael. Congratulations to Michael on being married for the 12th time. Eh?
Is he bearded or not bearded, the man who's ugly in grey?
You're definitely not going to get any bread cakes at Wakey this year.
I've got a plan to get to the game on Sunday.
Yeah, Michael, because you've got money, you're going to make sure bread cakes are supplied.
He's on holiday.
Not in a pre-season.
Job's knackered.
Yeah, he's back for the season, isn't he?
Yeah, but not for the pre-season.
We don't know what's happening with Toronto's games on TV yet, do we? We asked about this earlier.
We believe there are negotiations going on to perhaps have them on Sky.
You know why that is a good thing for Sky? Because they're on at a unique time when there's not a lot of other sport on, so it actually fits with them. So that you can see why that would be.
Particularly if they didn't have to pay a lot for it, as in Toronto paid the production coverage.
Yeah, exactly. It's a no-brainer. It is a no-brainer.
But it also has to be of a certain standard, so I think the person who would be producing that programme would have to know a lot about Rugby League.
Yeah, apparently a camera stuck on a tripod in the corner, that's not good enough standard.
Okay.
No. Oh, you can still see if people are ugly or not, though.
Yeah, apparently. We're on HD now.
You speak for yourself.
I do.
Go on, what's happening?
Well, everyone's been talking about that. Lots of memories of the Yorkshire Cup. Mark, when Bruce Burton going under the six twice in a man-of-match performance late 70s for Castleford.
Brilliant player, Bruce. Brilliant stand-off.
You know what
my
favourite cup memory is? I went to the Regal Trophy final at Ellen Road. And I forget,
we'll bring that back
it
as
might
well.
have been... I forget who they lost anyway in the final, Bradford. And one of my mates bunked off work to go to the game. And sure enough, we were there on the telly and he got sacked for not going to work. I thought it was quite funny.
What are you laughing at?
It was just
I'll tell you what,
funny.
I bet it cost him a fortune as well because it'd been paying for you all day, wouldn't it?
I was only about 14 at the time.
No, you'd still be having a few quiet ones. It'd cost you a fortune.
Just made me laugh.
But I tell you, Bruce Byrne, sensation. I used to watch him.
Halifax as well, didn't he?
Yeah, and it was Halifax lad, wasn't he? And in the old BBC Two floodlit as well. What a success that was.
I think he was the man of the match in the first John Player final.
Was he? Yeah, he was unlucky not to play with Great Britain, but in them days they were quality halfbacks about everywhere, weren't they? Great player.
See, the whole FC fans have done a really great wind-up this week by starting the rumour that the BBC Floodlit Trophy's coming back and all the Super League teams are behind it apart from one. Well done, the whole FC fans.
That's a bit
It is a bit. Johnny Broughton's back in training.
good.
Excellent.
Tweeted today. First session back after his ACL reconstruction.
Good man.
Can I ask a serious question about the Women's Super League?
Yes.
You know I'm a big advocate of it.
You are.
That goes without saying. I've noticed a lot of our star ladies are getting ACL injuries. Do we read anything into that? Or
It's just a common injury
is that
these
just...
days, isn't it?
Yeah, but it just seems to have happened to a lot of the star players
there's
all at once.
There's a lot of S&C now at a very high level going into the women's game because they're allied to Super League and they're opening up their facilities to them. And
Right.
that might be
It's
something.
it's a genuine observation.
There,
It's
no,
like,
there,
I
there
don't
were a
know,
lot
is
in
it-
Super League a couple of years ago, weren't there?
Oh no, and
Yeah.
then it started. We've seen there. That's what made me think of it. Obviously, Jodie Broughton's just had one, but I wondered, because a lot of the star players have been out a long time
like
with their
the,
ACL problems.
The pec tear, which we haven't seen a lot of, but we saw a spate of them a few years ago, and you just think that never happened in Scotia because of the wrestling.
Well, he didn't have any pecs.
Oh, yeah, that's true. But it's all tackle,
Hold on, I'll just rectify it. There were three of us at Leeds did it. I did mine. Tony Kemp did his and Kevin Iro, but we had new training tech because Edgar Curtis came to Leeds and we went to heavy
American
weights.
football.
We went to and my last game for Leeds, I tore my pectoral and shoulder.
Have you ever done weights before in your career?
Well, just toothpicks.
But not
Toothpicks.
heavy
what
weights.
they do now. Three of us did in the same.
Hold on,
the same
how
season.
many? Three? Would you see that? Three of us. That's what we were doing. Three of us.
Yeah, I've still got an all. You can feel it there. Yeah,
I'll be right.
Can you? You sure? It looks well covered up.
But yeah, no, there were three of us did it there and just do training techniques. So I would imagine with the ladies from there, how they're being coached, I would imagine with the wrestling what's coming in, it'll be the same. I'm not saying they are cannonball tackling, whatever, but with this wrestling, this sort of thing, if they stood up, they might be just twisting and turning him, and that's how
That's
how
what I mean.
it's
It's not a criticism.
Yeah,
It's
that's how
a
it's gonna
genuine.
happen.
I worry that all
Yeah.
the start, with Danica,
Absolutely.
Forsell's done
Yeah,
hers,
Lois,
with Jodie
yeah.
Cunningham,
Yeah.
another couple as well that I've been reading about.
But the training, what they're getting, the different techniques, what they're being told, and that's what.
If you haven't been to watch Women's Rugby League,
You should.
they belt each
should.
other. They
Yeah,
belt
yeah.
each other. It hurts.
Make a resolution to go and see a
It
women's
was a
game
great,
this
great
year.
piece.
Yeah, we'll tell
As
you when
soon
all
as
the
the
games
fixtures are out, make a resolution.
It was a great piece. I think I tweeted to you two last week from
I
from
read it,
Les
of course,
Boyd,
John.
and he was just saying how he likes the women's game more than the men's game because it's more like in the 80s and 70s when he played,
getting ripped in.
free flowing
And the space, there's much.
Yeah.
That if you're
Oh, yeah,
skillful,
there's less
you can-
wrestle and more footy.
It's
absolutely.
the skill level with the women. It's
Oh, it's
sensational.
brilliant.
It is.
Brilliant.
Paul says it could be the boots. Blades rather than studs. I've heard that about football as well. People
All
say
right.
that
No,
because of the way you turn.
I just,
Yeah, and your knee gets stuck in the turf. Yeah.
yeah, it's a fair point. I'm just asking. I'm asking a question.
Good question.
I think the other thing I got annoyed about on Twitter the other day was people saying, "Bring back the biff. This is what we need to improve rugby league. Bring back the biff in an era where with concussions and stuff." Grow up. Go watch some videos. Go watch boxing or something.
Well, I don't think we want to see, with like the Ben Flower incident against St Helens 5 years ago. We don't want to see that again, do we?
No, I don't.
I don't.
I think again, without mentioning it too many times, there's a new 4020 out this week, and in Brian Noble's column, he talks about the fact that one of the things we need to decide is what we are, and if we are a Coliseum sport, we are a confrontational sport, then we need to sell that. Which is not bringing back the biff, but it's actually focusing on what makes us different from everything else. And we shouldn't be too worried about that because UFC gets big numbers and MMA gets big numbers. And now we've got on pay-per-view bare-knuckle fighting. So
UFC's thrived on itself as being human cockfighting.
Absolutely. So, yes, it has to be regulated. Yes, like with Formula One, you have to make as many safeguards as you can. But don't shy away from the fact that what marks us out from a lot of other sports is these guys are confrontational people. And same with the women.
And Robert Ellis has mentioned about speeding the game up and this sort of. And I thought it was a great suggestion. Mal Reilly said it a couple of years ago. With the tackles, I'd like to just see 2 men in the tackles. I think that would speed the game up and players would respond to it. You certainly wouldn't see a lot more. You'd certainly see a lot less injuries.
Yeah.
But I would just like to see 2 men in the tackles.
Have we got any objection to Golden Point coming in?
I've been said the golden point for the last 10 years.
I know you don't.
I don't mind the golden point at all.
There was
I
only
think
4 draws last season.
Yeah,
It's
so-
not even
yeah.
going to be a big issue.
And they use, look at the drama it brings. In one game, in like 20 years, one game. Not for me. It's pointless. It is.
Well,
pointless.
it isn't pointless.
No, it's pointless. Is
That's
that going
literally
to
not
get
pointless.
any more people watching rugby
No,
league?
no.
Might watch
Again,
on Sky Sports News the week after.
I think what we're doing is skirting around the real issues. That all of these things
Window
are
dressing,
cosmetic
window
for me.
dressing.
If anyone needs a kicker, by the way, don't sign that bloke from Chicago. He needs to post all the time.
Paul.
No good.
You didn't
Did
have...
you miss it? Did you
No, I
watch it?
saw. You didn't have brass on that, did you?
Yeah, I backed Philadelphia.
Oh,
But,
so you were laughing then.
Well, it didn't matter anyway. But apparently they were all slating him for missing it, and apparently today they found out
Yeah,
that the
because
guy,
the guy
blocked
tipped
it.
it.
Right.
Yeah. And did you notice how brutal the coverage was? That within 10 seconds of him missing it, they're going, "Oh, look at all these kicks he's missed already this year. He always misses."
He's always hitting the post or something, isn't it?
Yeah,
4 times
he's
it's
at the
happened.
post. Yeah,
4
but
times,
apparently it did it. One of the guys blocked it, so it wasn't.
I'm
Harley,
surprised
isn't
more rugby league players don't get employed as kickers in the NFL.
Yeah.
They're all AFL. They're all AFL punters.
Because if
Aussie rules.
they can all tackle if if they need to. They're special teams and.
Anyway, we don't get paid overtime. Well,
Do
we
we-
don't get paid on this show, so we're.
Is it
we're off
time
now.
again?
We're going. Good luck to those in the Yorkshire Cup this weekend.
And the Parkside in the Yorkshire player.
Good luck to Michael Lawrence as well, and Danny Washbrook, Danny Kerman. Hopefully, loads of people attend their games. We'll be back next week. Look, if the RFL didn't make so many bodge ups, we wouldn't have to even talk about them, would we? Thanks to the legend.
Pleasure.
Thanks to John as ever for coming in. Thanks to Phil. 4020 out this week. Thanks to the RSW has been as miserable as ever. That's always good fun. Thanks to you for watching. Download the podcast. Thousands of you do it every week. We appreciate each and every one of you. We'll be back next week. See you then.